So June 10th is the deadline to do CE every year. June 30th is the deadline to renew your license. So remember, the Real Estate Commission works on a physical year. The Real Estate Commission's physical year is July 1st to June 30th. So if you do not renew your license by June 30th, when you wake up on July 1st, your license is expired. If you renew your license during the renewal period, the renewal period is May 15th to June 30th. That's just more FYI. When you renew your license between May 15th and June 30th, your license is current. And what's a current license have everything to do with? And you can show me, or actually what you're going to do, you're going to show the Real Estate Commission what? To renew your license, a current license, you're going to show them the money. If your license is current, it means you have renewed, you have paid the fee. So we renew our license by June 30th. We take CE by June 10th every year. Questions on these dates? If your license isn't current, then it's expired. So what if you don't renew? On July 1st, your license is expired. Okay. So I probably have, I don't know, maybe 20 more minutes of material left to cover. And honestly, it's not brand new information. It's stuff that we've talked about before. So we're going to finish up, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do the rest of the morning. So we talked about CE. We talked about your continuing education. We talked about the dates, June 10th and June 30th. One thing we've also talked about in this class, throughout this class, is your post-licensing. As a provisional broker, you have to complete 90 hours of post-licensing in order to drop your provisional status. So how do you drop your provisional status? You do 90 hours of post-licensing. You can knock it out in the first month and a half if you really want to do that to yourself. You can do it as quickly as you possibly can if you really want to. You have to complete it within 18 months. I find this so interesting. I think this just kind of brings home this whole, I've been babbling on about 7, 8, 9, and 10. One of your post-licensing classes, we're going to take units 7 and 8. We're going to expand on it. We're going to take agency, and we're going to expand on it. Another one of your post-licensing classes, we're going to take contract and closing, and we're going to expand on that. And then your other post-licensing classes, license law and commission rule. So we're going to take 3 of the bigger topics, the state section and units 7, 8, 9, and 10, and expand on them for post-licensing. Question comes in, is there a post-licensing exam? Yes. You do have a test at the end of your post-licensing class, but guys, I'm here to tell you, post-licensing is not near as intense as pre. So the high hurdle to jump is pre-licensing. Okay, this exam and then the state exam. 18 months. And guys, that's 18 months from your licensing date. So every single one of you on this call could have a different date. So there is no date I can give you. It's 18 months from the day you get your license, the day you get licensed. Questions on post-licensing? Is the post test a state? Yeah, the Real Estate Commission provides the post-licensing exam. Okay. Questions on post-licensing? You guys as provisional brokers or soon to be provisional brokers, don't assume. I hate it when you assume. When can you sign up for post-licensing? Once you get your real estate, once you get your broker license number. Once you get your license number, you can sign up. When you pass this course, how long do you have to take the state test? Remember, you got to submit your application. Once you get your certificate of completion from Lane, which I'll talk more about in just a minute, you submit your application. do your background check, all that good stuff. As soon as you get your notice for exam eligibility, you can go take your state exam. Once you get your certificate of completion, you have 3 years to pass your state exam. Y'all, please don't wait 3 years. I'm telling you, this information changes so rapidly. Other questions about post or CE, or how often do they offer the state exam? All day, every day, nights, weekends? You can take it online. You can go in person. You schedule your time. PSI testing centers located all over the state. Okay. The questions about post or provisional brokers, or thank you. Does post licensing have it? Well, it's only 30 hours. Pre is 75 hours. So schools offer, I know, for example, Lane offers post license. She's got day classes, she's got night classes, she's got weekend classes. So Lane offers a variety of post licensing schedules to help accommodate everybody's schedules. And it's only 30. I do post. Yep, sure do. Just did one last weekend. Gosh, I think I got another one coming up next week. We just keep cranking them out. How much does post cost? Well, each school is different. I think Lane will offer you guys a discount if you bundle. So I'm not sure how much a la carte or how much the bundle is. When you're ready, I think she sends you information anyway, but when you're ready, you can check out her website. But every school's cost is different. Probably about $225, $250, best guess per class. How long does it take all 3 classes? I've known people to bust it out in 5-6 weeks. If you really want to do that to yourself. You'd be bam, 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 but you'd be done. You could even do overlapping if you really want to, but I caution you from doing that. That's a lot of information to get at once, and it's easy to get confused. How much does CE cost? Again, it varies from school to school. I'd say on average, you can expect $50 to $60 per CE class. Okay, anything else? Post, provisional broker, CE? Okay. The last little section that we have to talk about, possible testable section, I should say, that we have to talk about. We've talked a little bit already about timeshares back in unit 2. If you get a timeshare question, I'm pretty sure it's going to come from something on this screen. You guys remember our little trick to help us remember? You guys want to do it with me? You remember? Shake your hands out. Let's do it. 5, 5, 5, 10, jazz hands. All right. So if you have a timeshare question, I'm fairly confident it's going to come from this slide. So let's make sure we get to this slide. Let's see. When completing CE, does the school send in your completion? Yes. You will get a certificate of completion proving that you did it, but the school will submit your completion, pre, post, and CE. The school will submit your completion to the real estate commission. So timeshare, definition of a timeshare. The right to occupy a unit during at least 5 or more separate time periods over at least 10 years. I'm sorry, 5 years. You guys, please make sure you note the words at least. Does that mean it could be more than 5? It could be more than 5 separate time periods. It could be more than 5 years. So if your test says you have the right to occupy 10 separate time periods over 10 years, is that still considered a timeshare? Yes, because it is at least 5. 5 is the minimum. And remember what we said too, you guys, even if it's not called a timeshare, if it fits this definition, the real estate commission will consider it a timeshare. So if it's Julie's Vacation Resort and it fits this definition, the real estate commission is going to treat it like a timeshare. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a timeshare. So at least 5 or more separate time periods over at least 5 years. The purchaser has a 5-day recession period. What does it mean to rescind your contract? You guys are great. You take it back. So if you rescind your contract, you take it back. You cancel it. If the buyer put down any deposits, they'll get their money back. So the buyer purchasing a timeshare has a 5-day recession period. The timeshare developer has to keep that deposit in the trust account for 10 days. The reason it's got to stay in the trust account for 10 days, because when the buyer rescinds, they need to be able to refund them that money. So they let it hang out for 10 days, make it available. Now, guys, please understand, the timeshare developer has the right to verify that the check has cleared the bank. The timeshare developer does have that right. So it may not be immediate if they terminate within 1 day. That's to protect the timeshare developer. And it's also important that we understand, am I with you guys? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
I can hear
can.
you, Julie.
You can hear me? Okay. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it's
Yes.
just my end. You guys are frozen. I just want to make sure I'm not standing here talking to myself. All right. So as long as you guys can hear me. The timeshares, this is the only
I
time.
can't see you, but I don't know why.
Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm freezing up. You guys hang tight for 1 minute. Hang tight just for 1 minute. Are we back? Hey, guys. Technology is great when it works. All right. So can you guys see me, hear me? Anything back to normal again? Okay, good, good, good. All right. So you got to give me just 1 second. Get my PowerPoint back up. Okay. So, as I was saying, did you guys hear about the 10 days? The 10 day to keep in escrow? Okay, all right. After that 10 days, the developer can just transfer that money from their trust account to their operating account. That deposit becomes part of their, but they have to wait 10 days to make that transfer just in case the buyer chooses to rescind within 5. The other big thing to know about timeshares, this is the only time that the Real Estate Commission can fine a licensee. Timeshare developers are the only ones that can be fined by the North Carolina Real Estate Commission, and they can fine the timeshare developer up to $500 per violation. All other licensees will face disciplinary action, which will be some reprimand on their license, suspension, revoke. Again, if you see a timeshare question, I'm almost certain it's coming from this screen. So everybody have this, 55510, $500. The syllabus does cover other timeshare things. We're going to go through it pretty quickly just so we can say we followed the rules and we did what we were supposed to. So we're going to go through it pretty quickly because I think this is where you're going to see. Timeshare, understand, is covered by license law and commission rule. So there's various things about timeshare that they think that we need to be aware of. So you don't need to know the numbers. You don't need to know Article 493A.40. You don't need to know that. The Real Estate Commission, there's a timeshare salesperson that I'm getting ready to define in just a second. That individual has to be licensed. And that all timeshares have to be registered with the Real Estate Commission. So all timeshares have to be registered with the commission so they can regulate them, so they're aware of them. So the salesperson is licensed, the timeshare project is registered. Look with me, if you will, on page 596 and 597 real quick. There's a couple words they want us to be aware of, not everything on 596 and 597. I would just highlight them again, look them over real quick before your test, your state exam. To define a developer is the person that creates the timeshare. They're the ones that are ultimately responsible for the timeshare developer. Each timeshare development has a project broker. Think of the project broker as the designated broker in charge. So each timeshare development has a project broker, which is like your designated broker in charge. A timeshare, we've already defined the right to occupy a unit during 5 or more separate time periods over at least 5 years. The timeshare instrument is the document that transfers the timeshare. Remember, instrument is just the document. So the document that transfers are the documents that transfer the timeshare, that right to occupy for at least 5 separate periods over at least 5 years. The timeshare salesperson is the individual that sells timeshares on behalf of the developer. And then the timeshare unit is the dwelling. What is it that you have the right to occupy at least 5 separate times over at least 5 years? Timeshare developers have to record timeshare instruments no less than 6 days. Why no less than 6 days? Because the buyer has 5 days to rescind, right? So we're not going to record it until we know that the buyer's gonna go forward, gonna move forward. So they have to record no less than 6 days, no more than 45 days. So they have a little window that they have to record timeshare instruments. Timeshare developers follow the same trust account, escrow account requirements that the rest of us licensees follow. So they have a separate trust account. Deposits go into that trust account. How many days do they have to keep them in the trust account? 10. Developer has to keep the deposit in the trust account for 10 days. Follow the same trust account rules that we do. Developers have to offer a public offering statement. A public offering statement is letting the public know this is management, this is how management runs, this is how, the rules of this place, this is everything you need to know about the timeshare. Whatever be important to the public, the timeshare developer has to provide this public offering statement. How many days does the purchaser have to rescind their contract? How many days do they have to rescind? 5. So the purchaser's right to cancel. They have up to 5 days to rescind. All they have to do is provide written notice to the developer. They don't even have to tell the developer why. They just have to provide written notice. I'm terminating my contract on this timeshare. Developer keeps the deposit in the account for 10 days. Failure to provide the public offering statement, the purchaser could be entitled up to 10% of the sales price. So if the developer doesn't provide a public offering statement, what happens? They could have to pay the purchaser some money. 10% of the sales price. Question came in, can the project broker and timeshare salesperson be the same? I think so, but in practice, usually the project broker is supervising the salespeople. But they're licensed, the project broker is licensed. Timeshare developers can have their license reprimanded, censored, suspended, or revoked, just like the rest of us. The only difference with the timeshare developer, they can be fined by the real estate commission. You and I cannot, licensees cannot be fined by the real estate commission, but the timeshare developer can. In addition to being disciplined and being fined, the timeshare developer could also be found guilty and charged a class 1 misdemeanor. So they can be fined by the commission, they can be fined by the courts. Class 1 misdemeanor is a court fine. Each timeshare development has to have a registrar. The registrar is the person that records the timeshare instruments. So one person is designated to be the registrar. The registrar is responsible for making sure that all timeshare instruments are recorded. As we said, each development has a project broker. Just think of the project broker as the designated broker in charge. So we need one per location. If the developer has multiple timeshares, and we have multiple project brokers ultimately responsible for supervising the day-to-day activities, the salespersons, any unlicensed employees. Again, project broker equals designated BIC. Let me ask you guys, and again, you can show me on your hand. If you were to guess, how many years do you think timeshare developers have to keep their records? How many years? Timeshare developers. Let me ask you guys another question. How many years do licensees have to keep records? 3 years. So the timeshare developer also has to keep records, same rules we have. Timeshare developer has to retain all records for at least 3 years. Again, their trust account rules are the same. So they have to make the deposit no later than 3 banking days of receipt. The only difference is they keep the deposits in their trust account for 10 days, 5, 5, 5, 10. The project broker, again, think of the project broker like the designated broker in charge. So provisional brokers cannot be a project broker. The project broker reviews the contracts, the public offering statements. They cannot allow unlicensed people to do licensed activities. And if there's a change of name or address or email or phone number, they too have to notify the real estate commission within 10 days of that change. So a lot of the rules for timeshare are very similar to ours. Again, what do you need to know for a timeshare? Let's do it one more time. Y'all ready? 5, 5, 5, 10. Don't forget the jazz hands. That's the best part. Come on. Questions on a timeshare? All right, that wraps up license law and commission rule. I want to look, because you guys are jotting this down. Let's look real quick on page 729. Guys, again, Appendix A is a couple hundred pages. If you guys will just focus on the comments that start on page 707, the things that we've talked about in class, some things not covered in the comments that you need to be aware of like a current license status, expired, the dates, that kind of thing. I do like the key point review on 729 to 736. That takes a couple hundred pages and sums it up for you. And then there's a good quiz in addition to what you have in Learn Test Pass, 737 to 740. Let me share something with you guys about the national section of your exam and the state section of your exam. So you go to PSI Testing Center and you have two sections, the national section and the state section. The national section, think of it as like the big overview, the 360-degree view. National section topics are those that every state practices, every state has. State sections are things that are more specific to North Carolina. It's honed in, it's more focused. State section is mostly law and rule. And law and rule is very precise. Typically what happens across the state when students go to PSI Testing Center to take their state exam, if they don't pass both sections, hopefully you pass both sections, but usually what we find across the state, students will pass the national section and fail the state section. And I think the reason for that being is because the state section is so precise. So I say this to encourage you to spend time with license law and commission rule. Make sure that you have those details like 10 days, 60 days, right? A lot of that, I mean, it's rule and law, you know, nobody ever said that was a good time. So make sure you're familiar with the things that we talked about. In addition to license law and commission rule, state-specific topics could also be good candidates. So for example, I just opened a random page in my book and I turned to page 318. I didn't even look. I just opened my book and I turned to page 318. On page 318 in the left-hand margin, it says in North Carolina. And you can open any page of your book. You don't have to go to 318. Just open a page in your book. In the left-hand margin, it says in North Carolina. When you see that, that's something specific to the state and could be a good candidate for your state section. I think mostly heavily tested will come from license law and commission rule. But you also have state-specific things in North Carolina. Questions? Okay. Everybody good? Cool. Y'all want a Kahoot? It's our last Kahoot. You guys ready? All right. So let's Kahoot. License law and commission rule. So you're either going to the website or you're going to the app, or you can just scan the QR code. Website or app, you need the game pin 3700430. The QR code is new. You're the first class I've ever had to experience the QR code. Do you guys like the QR code? Is that what most of you are doing? Because you don't have to put a game pin in, do you? You just scan it and go, right? So that's kind of cool. A couple less steps for you. So this is our license law and commission rule Kahoot. Okay, so everybody in that wants to play? If you're not playing on your phone, Play in your mind. A few more seconds, let you guys get in. Okay, everybody in? If you want to play, ready? License law and commission rule. Question number 1. North Carolina Real Estate Commission may take disciplinary action against a North Carolina licensee who ten seconds. Take disciplinary action against a licensee who both. So obviously we're all good with that. Violation of license law or commission rule. But remember, if you have another professional license, maybe you have a real estate license in another state, maybe you have another professional license. If you get yourself in trouble with your other professional licensing board, you have got to report that to the real estate commission. What are they going to do to you? Maybe nothing. The rule just says we have to report it. And how many days do we have to report a conviction or a disciplinary action? A conviction of a felony or misdemeanor or another disciplinary action? Yep, 60 days. When it comes to this rule, I always think of the real estate commission as mama. I don't know what kind of house you grew up in, but in my house, it was better for me to fess up to mama and tell her I did something wrong than let mama find out on her own. Anybody else have a similar mama to mine? Don't let her find out, fess up to her. Think of the real estate commission like mama. You will get disciplined if you don't report it. You may get disciplined when you do. Does that make sense to everybody? Remember, every single disciplinary case is handled on a case by case. So are you going to get in trouble? I don't know. We have to report it within 60 days. Questions on this one? Okay. Let's see who got it right the fastest. Destiny came in fastest. You, Essence, Ashina, and Valen. Question number 2. A real estate license must be renewed no later than every ten seconds. June 30th is when we renew our license. The renewal period is May 15th to June 30th. We have to renew. How do you renew your license? You pay the fee. You renew your license by paying the fee no later than June 30th. So let's see what we got here. Destiny and you stayed on top. Brenda, Valen, and Devin. Christina's our highest climber, up 3 places. What is the deadline for continuing education? Ten seconds. Deadline for CE, June 10th. June 10th is the deadline for CE. June 30th is the deadline to renew your license. 18 months from licensure is how long you have to complete post-licensing. July 1st is when the Real Estate Commission starts their fiscal year. Questions on these dates? Destiny's on fire, 3 correct in a row. You still on top, Valen staying up there, Brenda and Devin. Question number 4. In North Carolina, all real estate brokers must ten seconds. North Carolina, all licensees must, everybody has to include the firm's name in an ad for the property of the sale. If you don't have the firm's name, it's a blind ad. A blind ad is, because whose listing is it, you guys? Whose services are you advertising? It's the firm. So we have to have the firm name. What's wrong with the blue one? There's one word in there. One word. And that one word is current. A current license means you've done what? Paid the fee. A current license has everything to do with paying the fee. It has nothing to do with education. A current license can be active or inactive. You pay the fee, your license is current. You pay the fee and do CE, your license is active. What questions do I see how they like to trick you? When you see the word current, see currency. Questions on this one? So we got Brenda, Destiny, Jolie crept up, Michael and Angela. 5 of you are combo breakers, whatever that means. 5 of you are on fire. You've gotten 3 right in a row. Under license law, a provisional broker is authorized to ten seconds. Under license law, a provisional broker is authorized to list a property for sale as long as they're under the direct supervision of a broker in charge. A PB can do just about everything that a full-blown broker can do. We talked about a couple exceptions. The PB can't do a CMA or BPO for a fee. The PB can't walk around with somebody else's money. Nobody can sign a sales contract on behalf of a client. Remember, if you're a sales agent, you're a special agent. How much power, how much authority do I have as a special agent? How much authority do I have to bind as a special agent? 0. Provisional brokers can't get paid direct, can only get paid from their supervising BIC or BICs. Both of your BICs are under the same roof. And nobody can advertise a property just under your name. That's called a blind ad. All of your advertisements have to include the firm's name. Questions on this one? Jolie crept up, Michael, you, Christina crept up, Bob crept up. 9 of you are on fire. Last one. How long from receipt does a provisional broker have to deliver trust funds to their broker in charge? Four seconds. I wasn't paying attention. How long from receipt? Provisional brokers cannot walk around with somebody else's money. So if you're asked to hold an earnest money check for your buyer while you're negotiating the offer, what do you have to do? Get it immediately to your BIC. The 3-day of receipt or 3-day of contract formation is how long the escrow agent has to deposit the earnest money. Provisional brokers cannot walk around with somebody else's money. They hand you a check and say, safeguard this for me while we're negotiating. You need to get it immediately to your broker in charge. Questions on this one? Thank you, everybody, for not saying the green one. Oh, I'll just put it in my savings account. It'll be fine. You can trust me. Thank you. I think we see what's wrong with that. All right, let's see how we finished up. Third place is Tara. Tara came up out of nowhere. Good job. Second place is you, whoever you are. You have to tell me in a private chat. And our first place is Christina. Good job. Our runners up are Drew and Jolie. License, law, and commission roll. I'm going to stop sharing just for 1 second. First off, to let you guys know, we're done. Not for today. We're done with the material. You guys now know what I know. Yeah, you do. So you have the information. A non-testing topic that we need to talk about when we come back from break is agent safety. And with agent safety, I actually have a video that I want you guys to watch, but it's been my experience for some reason that when I try to show you a video in class, we have different computer or internet speeds and different devices, and we almost always get a lag. So instead of trying to have you watch the video on my screen, what I'm going to do is put a link to the video in the chat. And instead of a 10-minute break, we're going to take a 15-minute break. It's like a 3-minute video. So I'm giving you 15 minutes to watch the video and to take your break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the video and talk about safety. Is 15 minutes fair? Is everybody good with that? Will you guys promise me that you'll watch the video and not just say, woohoo, I get 5 extra minutes? Okay. All right. So here's the video. Let's take a 15-minute break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the video and talk about agent safety. All right. Everybody get to see the video? Let's talk about, I think it's a nice, a nice video. It's by the National Association of Realtors. Again, we're going to talk about some of those points. Guys, I don't want to scare anybody, but the truth is you're going into what could be a potentially harmful business. I mean, think about it. You're opening yourselves up to the public. And do you know how many different types of people are in the public? So you need to be aware. You need to protect yourself, and you need to set some safety protocols in place when you're out working with the public. So the first question I always get about agent safety, can I carry protection? Can I carry a gun? If you have your concealed carry, you can carry your gun. I have my concealed carry. I am carrying when I'm out showing property, doing open houses. I also have mace on me. I have Christmas gift this year is called a birdie. Have you guys heard of these things yet? It's like this little thing that hooks to my keychain. And when you pull the pin, it makes like this loud screeching noise. So there's several things out there that you can do to have some form of protection on you. And honestly, in any situation, anything can be used as a weapon. If you're not comfortable with a gun, please don't get a gun. You're only going to hurt yourself or somebody else, somebody that was innocent. If it's not your thing, I happen to grow up around them. I come from a family, we're Northwestern Pennsylvania. I don't know if you know anything about Northwestern Pennsylvania, but my people are hunters. So they were around everywhere I went. But I know not everybody is in that similar situation. Have some form of protection. I think every couple, you may want to check your cameras too, make sure they're on. I think every single one of you should take some sort of self-defense class. Know how to get away if you're attacked. And gentlemen, this conversation applies to you as well. Please don't think because you're a he that you're innocent. The last attack I heard of actually was last year, a male agent in Virginia. So you need to be aware, you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well. Comments or questions on protection, self-defense?
Can you let me back in?
You are in.
I can't. Thank
There
you.
you go. Interesting. Have I had issues with safety before? Not me personally, but I've known plenty of agents that have been in situations where they felt uncomfortable. So why do we talk about safety precautions? Because guys, there is no amount of commission worth your safety. There is no amount of commission worth your safety. And if you don't believe me, just ask your family. Ask your family tonight if there's any amount they can put on your safety. You guys need to know who you're dealing with. You guys will want to set up some kind of safety precaution, safety protocol as just part of your business. Some agents, for example, will require any buyers, all buyers, to send them a text with a picture of their driver's license. Now, I'm not saying this is stuff you have to do, but things for you guys to consider. But bottom line, you want to know who you're dealing with. If you're meeting a buyer, ask them for the make and model of their car. Remember, you're dealing with the public. And I know it's going to be really easy. You're going to be on phone duty in your new office, and some stranger is going to call in and say, I'm sitting in front of 123 Main Street. Can you come show it to me? And it's your instinct is going to want to be to jump up and run out the door. And that may not be the safest thing to do. Maybe you have a policy where you meet any buyers at a public place or at your office before you take them to the property and show them the property. Remember what we said about fair housing. What you do for one, you do for all. So if you have a safety policy in place for one buyer, you keep that safety policy in place for all buyers. You can't say, well, I'm more comfortable around women than I am men, so I'm just going to make women send me their driver's license. Can you see how men can claim discriminatory practices? So what you do for one, you do for all. Know who you're dealing with. And when you're out showing property, tell someone where you are. Let somebody know your agenda. If you're going to show 10 properties that day, let them know from 9 to 9:30, you're going to be at this address. At 10 o'clock, you're going to be at that address. Give them your itinerary for the day. I mean, we hate to say this, but if something happens and you go missing, at least if they have your itinerary, then they can know where they could last saw you. They might be able to find you faster. Do I have to notify buyers that I'm carrying? No, because I have my concealed carry. So concealed carry laws apply.
If I could chime in, Julie, on the concealed carry thing, you really need to get that permit, because you could face 5 years if you're caught
Oh
carrying.
yeah, you
without
can't
it.
carry without your concealed carry. You can't conceal carry without
Correct.
your concealed carry. You can open carry,
Right.
but you cannot conceal carry without your concealed carry. When you're showing property, keep your phone close. Guys, we access homes by an e-box, usually an e-box on the front door. How do I get into the e-box? Because I have an app on my phone. So the fact that I have my phone out doesn't look funny. Right now, I didn't say stay on your phone while you're working with buyers. They could see that as kind of rude and like you're not giving them attention. But if you have your phone out, you have it out. You have to have it out to access the property anyway, in most cases. So don't feel like you're, being rude by having your phone close. Again, there's a difference in having it close and chit-chatting on it the whole time you're with buyers. So have your phone close. With open houses, let's talk about a couple different things for open houses. Let's first talk about sellers. When you're doing an open house for a seller, we need to have the conversation with sellers about how I may not always be able to be with all buyers at all times. If you have a busy open house, you may have several groups in the house at a time, and I may not be able to follow everybody around. It may not be safe for me to follow everybody around. So you need to have the conversation with sellers about putting valuables up before the open house. Anything that can easily slip into a pocket and walk away. So think jewelry, prescription medication, some kind of weapon. Your sellers should be packing anyway, right? We already had them depersonalized before they listed, but make sure they know that you may not be able to be all places at all time during the open house. And sellers can protect themselves by making sure that they have little things and valuables put up. As far as you and I doing an open house, it's really kind of funny to say this if you think about it, but if you think about it, open houses, we're kind of sitting ducks, aren't we? We're telling the whole world Sunday from 2 to 4, I'm sitting in this big empty house by myself. Come see me. So we need to make sure that we take precautions in doing open houses. Me personally, and this is just me personally, again, you adopt your own safety policy. When I do an open house, I keep myself positioned near the front door. I don't follow buyers around. I don't leave the front door. I'm a greeter. I keep my eye on the road. I see you coming to my open house long before you ever get there. The front door is the only door that's unlocked. And I make sure before the open house, I go around, make sure I don't have any dead spots with my phone. If you're at the front door and a buyer's down in the basement and they say, hey, can you come down here for a second? You may not want to run down there. Everybody with me? You may just want to say, why don't you come up here and we'll talk about it. Your phone may not work down there. You don't know what it is that they want. So be safe when you do open houses. You can bring somebody with you to do an open house. That somebody does not have to be licensed. But if you bring an unlicensed person to help you do an open house, make sure they know their role. Make sure they understand that your role is the one to sell the house. Their role is just to keep you safe. So if people ask them questions about the property, it's best that they send them to you. Questions on anything on this first slide? A little bit more to talk about, but anything so far that we've talked about? Comments? When you join your firm will probably have some kind of office safety policy. So they'll go over that with you during your new agent orientation. So your firm probably has some kind of protocol put into place. Part of what you get to do as a new agent too is write your profile. When you guys are writing your profile, I want you to make sure that your personal marketing isn't too personal. Don't give the public too much information. Never, ever give out your home address. Always give out your office address. I think, profiles are tricky because I'm trying to write a profile to make the public connect with me. So for example, my profile mentions that I graduated from UNCG. If somebody's reading my profile, they might go, I graduated from UNCG. And that's how we make a connection. Do I have any other Spartans on the call? So if you can make that kind of connection, but don't make it too personal. I think it's okay to mention that you have kids because people will connect with that. But be careful what you say. Don't tell the school that your kids go to. You may even want to caution for giving your kids age. Maybe just say middle school or high school or elementary school. You guys with me? Don't give out too much information. It's a fine line in trying to have a profile page where people connect versus having a profile page where you're giving away too much information. When you write your profile, it's not a bad idea to have somebody, a couple other people, if you can, look at it, make sure that everything looks okay. Dress for safety, dress comfortably, dress for safety. If you're out on Saturday showing 13 homes, you're going to be on your feet a lot. You're going to be walking around a lot. Ladies, I would not suggest, you guys do what you want to do. I always get an argument with this. I would not suggest wearing stilettos when you're out showing property. One, it might be harder to get away, but two, if you're walking in somebody's backyard and it had just rained, you're going to get stuck in the backyard, right? And while I'm sure the owner appreciates you aerating their backyard, that's not always the safest thing. So keep safety in mind, comfort in mind when you're going to be out all day with buyers. Don't allow yourself to be blocked in, and this applies to two different things. When you're driving to a property, if at all possible, park at the street. If at all possible, park at the street. Now, some homes, street parking is not an option, and I get that. So you may not be able to. If all possible, park on the street. If you have to pull in the driveway, maybe try to get your buyers to pull in first so you're not blocked in. The second part of this is when you're showing the property. You don't want to lead. Let your buyers lead. First off, guys, remember, the buyers are trying to imagine themselves living in this home. They're trying to visualize their family here. And it's awfully hard for you to imagine living here when I'm standing in the bedroom going, and this is the bedroom, right? So let them lead so they get the experience of walking into the room first without you already being there. The second thing that does is it doesn't allow you to get blocked in. What if that bedroom happens to be on the second story and the only way out is the second story window and you walk in and they walk in behind you? You're blocked in that room. Everybody with me? So not being blocked in, sure. Not being blocked in serves two purposes. By allowing them to lead. I don't go up and down stairs in front of clients. I always let them, again, and chalk it off to the experience. Let me follow you. I want you guys, again, that experience of walking in the room and visualizing themselves living there. The other thing that the video mentioned that I think is really important, again, that I just hinted on, I don't think any of you should meet a perfect stranger at a vacant home by yourself. If a buyer wants to see a property, really is serious about seeing the property, then they will agree to meet you at your office, or they'll agree to meet you, offer to take them out to Starbucks before you show them the property. What's one? There's a tool that I can use to my advantage. I can tell my buyers that we have to discuss something before our relationship goes too far. And I can use this as an excuse to get my buyers to a Starbucks. What's something I need to discuss early on that I can use as an excuse? What tool do I have to discuss early in my relationship with new buyers? There we go. Don't we have to do an agency disclosure sooner rather than later? Don't we have to do our working with real estate agents? So use that to your advantage. No, I can't meet you at the house because licensed law and commission rule says that I'd have a conversation with you about agency disclosure. So use that to meet them at and I understand you can't take everybody to your office, but there's plenty of coffee shops, I guess I should say. There's plenty of coffee shops around, places that you can, I met a buyer at a Subway once. I bought the man a Coke and we sat there and discussed, and at least I knew he was willing to meet me at Subway. At least I knew he was willing to sit down for 5 minutes with me before we went out to the property. If you do have to meet a buyer at a vacant house by yourself, again, I think if the buyer's serious, they'll be willing to follow your safety protocol. If they're not willing to do it, I would question how serious that buyer is about the property. If you do have to meet somebody though, or you choose to meet somebody, please don't go alone. Take somebody with you. My husband has come with me before to see properties in the evening. He stays in the car. He doesn't get out of the car, but he is seen. The buyers see him. Questions or comments on anything here? I think the two biggest pieces of advice I can offer: always be aware you're surrounded. When you get out of the car, look who's across the street, who's down the street. When you walk out of the house after the showing, look, is there somebody in the front yard? Is there somebody in the backyard? You guys, please remember, your buyer is looking through different eyes than you are. When your buyer pulls up to the property, they're looking at curb appeal. When they walk into the home, they're looking to see how it fits their family needs. We need to help by looking around surroundings, knowing what's around us. And the best piece of advice I can offer you is to listen to that little voice in your head. That little voice in your head tells you to get out, then what do? Get the heck out of there. That little voice in your head is there for a reason. Absolutely, Matt. Thank you. I had wasn't even an incident. I was doing an open house once and a gentleman came in and he just made me feel uncomfortable. It just one of those people. I don't know what it was about him, but something didn't make me feel comfortable. And I was getting ready because I was trying to get him to look at the house. He was spending more time with me than I thought necessary. And he was spending more time on my marketing material than I thought necessary. I was getting ready to say, well, oh, I got an emergency call. I need to step outside and take it, because I could hear people outside. So if I knew I got to the front porch, then I'd feel a lot comfortable. Now, in the meantime, another couple came in and I felt okay. And he left before the other couple did. And I spent so much time that, Julie, you're so silly. That man didn't mean any harm. Why did you feel like that? Why did you feel the need? Guys, you can't question that little voice in your head. That little voice in your head is there for a reason. I don't know what it was about that man that made me feel uncomfortable. I tell you, when he picked up my business card, he said, can I have this? And I said, of course. And he said, good. I collect realtors' business cards. And for some reason, that just sent a chill down my spine. And that's about the time that I was getting ready to take an emergency call when the couple came in. I could spend a lot of time beating myself up about feeling silly, but that little voice in my head is there for a reason, trying to tell me something. And that's the best piece of advice I can offer you. What comments do we have on safety? Thoughts? Is this something you guys have thought about before, considered before? Good. I think you guys set up some safety protocols for yourself and you follow those safety protocols. And if they say, well, I'm going to call another agent, maybe they weren't as interested in the house as what they indicate that they are. I had an agent, heard of an agent the other day. Buyers called her, they wanted to see 80 acres. There's a tract of land somewhere that was 80 acres. She drove out there by herself. She drove down this long dirt driveway to get into the 80 acres. And once she got there, she realized that she didn't feel safe. She tried to backpedal. Well, I'll let you guys walk around. I'm going to sit in my car and answer a few emails. I question why she allowed herself to get in the middle of the woods on 80 acres to begin with. Think it through. Think it ahead. A question came in, correct me if I'm wrong, but ask for a pre-approval letter from your lender. Once you've had the working with real estate agent discussion. Yep, that's a great reason to do a buyer consultation first. Come into the office. Let me go over my buyer package with you. Let me make sure you've talked to a lender. And oh yes, we can do our working with real estate agents. Other thoughts, comments?
That situation with the big piece of property seems harder to deal with than a regular house. I mean, it's such a huge place. I don't know.
There's some big houses too, some big houses with basements and attics and, so again, I'm glad her little voice kicked in at some point. Were they interested? I don't know. I never heard a follow-up. But again, I wish she would have thought about it before she got there, before she got herself out there. If you're not comfortable, you got a broker in charge. You have peers in your office. That's one thing about our offices. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So if you're going on a listing appointment and you're just not sure, ask a peer to go with you and then return the favor. We can help each other. Guys, there's safety in numbers. I do a night pre-licensing class once a year as well. And before Zoom, we were in person. And, we finish at 8:30 at night. And you guys, when you in person, when you're done, you're out. You leave fast. And it doesn't take me long to shut down, but it's long enough that when I'm done, I'm walking out in an empty parking lot by myself because you guys are out. So when I did my night class, I always ask for what did I ask for? What do we call it? Julie
Escort.
duty. I asked somebody to be on Julie duty that night. Escort seems too formal. Somebody to be on Julie duty that night. And I asked the class if everybody could take turns walking out with me. I would appreciate it because there's safety in numbers. And the other thing I know about bad people that may not have good intentions, they usually have a plan. And if you can do something to derail the plan, then they're going to usually derail their intentions. So showing up with somebody to the showing up with your spouse to 80 acres to show the property might derail the plan. Other questions or comments about safety? Again, you're not tested on safety, but I do think it's just as important of everything else. The National Association of Realtors has declared September is Agent Safety Month, and they usually offer programs. That little video you guys just watched was NAR. The reason for September, because about 10 years ago, there was an agent in Arizona, I think, that was attacked and killed by a buyer. She thought they wanted to see the house. And so in memory of her, the National Association of Realtors has declared September as Agent Safety Month. It's about creating awareness. And that's all I'm asking you guys to do is be aware and to have safety procedures in place. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second. We need to talk about your exam on Tuesday. So let me pull that up. I need to make sure we're all on the same page for Tuesday. Make sure we're all clear of the expectations that I have for my end of course exam. If I have any questions, now, this weekend, whatever, is the time somewhere between next Tuesday morning is the time to address those questions. One thing I've asked you guys to do is secure a distraction-free place. Make sure that you are alone when you take the exam. I can't have anybody in the room with you. I need you alone, no family, no coworkers, no. So this is one of these, I'm already getting questions, so hang tight, you guys. This is one of these discussions that let's hold the questions until the end, because it's safe to say I'll answer all your questions as we discuss it. So first off, let's relax just a little bit. Anybody else feel this guy's pain right now? It's real, isn't it? 2024. So next Tuesday, when we start, I'm going to log in 30 minutes or earlier. I'll probably log in about 8:15. I usually log in at 8:45. So I'm going to log in at 8:15 on Thursday. I got to do a check-in process with each of you. I got to spend a little bit of time with each of you checking you in. I'll talk about the check-in process in just a second. If you can log in early, I'd appreciate it, because I got to get all of you checked in before we can start the exam. It looks like there's about 40 of you and 1 of me. So the name of the game Tuesday morning before we begin is patience. And as early as you can log in is appreciated. If I can get you to log in early, I can get everybody checked in. I can't start until everybody has checked in. So I ask that Tuesday you come on early. Again, I'll be on about 8:15. I ask that Tuesday you come on early so we can get everybody checked in. So what's the check-in process look like? I need to see, it's like show and tell. When we check in on Tuesday, I need to see your basic calculator. Is everybody good on this? No phones, no TI-83s, anything that can store formulas. I can only let you use a basic calculator. Obviously, you can have a writing utensil, pen, pencil, purple crayon. I really don't care. Some kind of writing utensil. Each of you starts with 2 blank pieces of scratch paper. And you're going to show me your blank scratch paper front and back. So you're going to say, this is the front. I need to see that both front and back of both pages are 2. I ask that you only start with 2. If you need more, I'll allow you to get more, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Why 2? Because PSI Testing Center allows you to start with 2. So I'm trying to best prepare you guys for the state exam. I will let you have a drink, snacks, cough drop, mints, gum, whatever you need. When I check in, I need to see your textbook and your notebooks are closed and near you. Some of you have a shelf or something behind you that you can put them so I can see them, but I need to know that they're near you. Why? Because I allow you to take bathroom breaks. And if I allow you to take a bathroom break, I need to know that your book and notebooks aren't in the bathroom. So I need to know where they are. I also need to see that your phone is off. Are we all in agreement that off and silent are 2 different things? I need to see your phone is off. Hit a button. Does it turn on? You know what a couple classes ago students started doing, which I really like, by the way, is actually showing me them powering down their phone. I like that. But either way, I need to know that your phone is off. If you're going to take the exam from a laptop or an iPad, I need you to show me your space. I need you to show me, kind of do a little tour and show me that your desk is clean and that you have nothing or on it, no note cards taped to it or anything. So I need a tour of your desk. If you're on a desktop, I understand you can't do that. So if you're on a desktop, you're pretty much holding your right hand up to me and telling me that you have nothing on your desk that could be considered cheating. I need you guys to come with a nice, clean desk space, nothing but these items on your space. Your book can be behind you, it can be beside you. I need to know its location. So many times students come in and say, well, it's in the other room. Is that okay? No, because I allow you to take bathroom breaks. So I need to know that it's right here. Notebooks as well. What questions do I have just about the check-in process? We'll talk about the rest in just a second. Just about the check-in process. Little one-on-one time I spend with each of you. I'm going to thank you guys in advance for your patience. This is tedious. This does take a while, but since we're online, it's my only option. So please be patient with me. Your scratch paper needs to stay blank until we begin the test. Once we begin the test, you can do whatever you want to with it, but it needs to stay blank until we begin. And once you're checked in, you're in. So once you're checked in, so when you come, please be ready. During the exam, no virtual backgrounds, no dimly lit spaces. I need to see you. I need to see the camera on you at all times. I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. We don't have any virtual backgrounds in this class, which is good. A couple of your cameras kind of adjust up a little bit. So on test day, I need to see more than the top of your head. I actually need to see you. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So I need to be able to see you at all times. When you log in, you are going to use the same Zoom link that we use to access class every day. When we're ready to begin, I will give you the link for the exam. I'll put it in the Zoom chat. Zoom and ClassMarker are the only two tabs you have open on your computer. All other browsers are closed. So you'll use the same Zoom link that you use every day to access class. You guys are going to be, I'll show you in just a second what it's going to look like on test day. I won't be sharing my screen. So you guys will be able to minimize Zoom and kind of tuck it off to the side so it's not distracting to you. I don't want you guys to be distracted. I will have somebody else with Carolina School of Real Estate with me, helping me watch you guys. Her name is Katie Davis. So Katie will be here. You guys may never see Katie, but know that Katie's here helping me watch you. Katie and I watch you guys. I don't want you guys watching everybody else. I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. Please give me a minute. I'm sorry. So Katie and I will be watching. Everybody good with this? Log on to Zoom, and then you get the ClassMarker link, and you have two tabs open on the test and Zoom that you can minimize. During your exam, once the exam begins, I am your only friend. I'm it. I'm all you got. I am the only person you can communicate with. And the only way you can communicate with me is via direct message. If you need to leave your camera for any reason, as I just said, I will allow you to take bathroom breaks. But if you need to go to the bathroom, you say, Julie, I'm going to the bathroom. If you need to get water, you say, Julie, I'm getting water. If you need to go adjust your thermostat, Julie, I'm going to go adjust my thermostat. If you leave your camera for any reason, you need to communicate with me via direct message. Never, ever unmute yourself, ever, for any reason. I know a lot of you have worked really hard to be here, and I'm doing everything that I possibly can to allow you not to be distracted. So you only communicate with me via direct message. Again, you need to go to the bathroom, that's fine. You just got to tell me. I need to know where you are. So what if? The possibilities. What if you lose power during the exam? What if you lose internet during the exam? Right before we begin, I'm going to put my phone number in the chat. And I'm going to ask you guys to write my phone number down on your scratch paper. So when you start the exam, the only thing you have on your scratch paper is my phone number. And I'll have you guys write that down. You don't need to bring it written down. I will provide it in the chat so you can write it down. If you lose power, if we lose connection, if you lose internet, you just got to call me. I don't have a crystal ball. Can't tell you what all may go wrong. But what I do know is we will get through it. Communicate only with me via direct message. Never, ever unmute yourself. Unfortunately, the only way I have to communicate with you guys is to unmute myself, but I'll do so gently if I have to, and it's only if I have to. I'll help you watch your time. So if there's about 15, 20 minutes left, I'll probably unmute myself and just remind you to watch your time. So once I put the Zoom link in the chat, once I put the class marker link in the chat, you click on the link to begin. You get 3.5 hours for your exam. It's 112 questions. Passing is 75%. I'll talk about what happens if you pass or if you don't in just a second. When you're finished with your exam, you'll hit submit. You'll say, are you sure? You'll say yes, and you will know right then your results. You will also get an email with a breakdown of the topics. How many questions on agency, for example, did you miss? The Real Estate Commission pass or fail will not let me review your exam with you. But I can give you topics. I can tell you how many on agency you missed, how many on licensed law and commission rule you missed. When you are finished with your test, once you see your results, you can leave Zoom. You don't have to wait around for me. You don't have to stay the whole 3.5 hours. When you're done, you're done. In the email that you guys have from Lane, that you click on the Zoom link every single day to access class, there's a link to a class marker tutorial. Has anybody seen that yet? It's right above our Zoom link. It's about a 4-minute tutorial on how class marker works. I think you should all watch it. Take away some of that anxiety and anticipation about what does class marker look like. It's in the email that you use to click on the Zoom link every time to access class. Take 4 minutes and watch the class marker tutorial so you know what to expect. So you know what class marker looks like. So I put the link in the Zoom chat. I put a link in the Zoom chat. You click on the link, you put in your name and email address, and you get something that looks like this. I ask that you read this before you take your exam. What this basically saying is that you won't communicate with others. You guys are not allowed to talk about this test with anybody except Lane and I. You guys cannot talk about this exam after the fact with each other. This is a closed book examination. You can't refer to books or notes while taking the test. And the very last sentence is the most important. Any student in violation will receive a failing grade for the entire course and will report it to the North Carolina Real Estate Commission for further inquiry. The Real Estate Commission says if I suspect you of cheating, I am supposed to take your exam away. So if I even think you're cheating, and I'm not going to deal with it, Lane's not going to deal with it, we're going to let the North Carolina Real Estate Commission deal with it. So again, guys, and I know a lot of you read questions out loud and you talk to yourself, and I get that. When I'm watching you take a test, this is another reason why I need to see you. When I'm watching you take a test, I can tell the difference in you reading a test question to yourself versus you having a conversation with somebody else in the room. So as long as you're reading the test question to yourself, I can tell the difference. Does that make sense to everybody? I'll allow you to move your mouth and read out loud, but I need to know that you're reading the test questions. So you read this, you agree to it by clicking start. You see one test question per screen. And again, this is all information you can get from the class marker tutorial in your email from Lane. You can bookmark a question to go back to it. So if you're not sure when you read it, you can bookmark it. Every single page has a link called See All Questions. I need all of you to click on that See All Questions before you submit, because that tells you the questions that are answered, unanswered, or bookmarked. And before you hit submit, I need you to make sure that every single one of those is answered. You don't get credit for an unanswered. It's a minus. It's a deduction of 1 point for anything unanswered. So before you hit submit, click on See All Questions to make sure they all say answered. You also have a countdown clock. You get 3.5 hours and it'll count down the time for you. Keep, half an eye on that. Don't stare at the clock the whole time. When you pass, Lane will be in touch with you further. She'll have further instructions and she'll send you a certificate of completion. So be on the lookout from Lane. I don't know when you'll get it. Lane's a busy gal. Maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. Lane will get back to you sooner rather than later. Please be patient with Lane. She's busy. Every time you call her and say, when am I going to get the email? When am I going to get the email? That's less time she has to send you the information. So please be patient and know that she will be in touch with you. And check your spam, because sometimes, I don't know why, but sometimes Lane's email winds up in spam. The certificate of completion that she's going to send you is the last piece that you need to submit your application to the Real Estate Commission. So even if you're not ready to submit your application next week, still keep that email from Lane, because you'll need that certificate of completion to submit your application. So put it in a safe place until you're ready to submit your application. If you don't pass and you make at least a 50%, you are eligible for the retake on Friday, March 11th. The test will start as close to 9 as we can. Again, I ask you guys to log in early so we can check in. The rules for the retake are the same. So the retake is Friday, March 11th. If you don't make a 50% on the exam or you fail the retake, then you will want to retake the class. My suggestion is you get in as soon as you can while the material is still fresh, while the information is still fresh in your mind. Lane will let you retake for a discount. Regardless, fail, retake, or pass, Lane will be in touch with you. So Lane will reach out regardless of what you do. Just be patient with her. So what questions do I have? Where do we see how many questions there is for each unit? We looked at our real estate licensing in North Carolina booklet, and yes, that's for your state exam, but the weight is the same. So I can't tell you exactly how many questions you're going to have on agency. I'm telling you, you're going to be heavily tested on agency. So look at the real estate licensing in North Carolina booklet to help you get the weight, so you know how many, where to focus your energy. Question came in about Learn, Test, Pass. You have 4 months after class ends. You'll have access to Learn, Test, Pass for 4 months. If you need it longer than 4 months, just reach out to Lane. She'll be happy to extend it. But it's 4 months unless you reach out to her. What other questions do I have?
Just to clarify, Julie, you said
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can read out loud and our mouth can be moving during your exam.
As long as I know that you are reading a test question and not talking to somebody in the room.
Okay,
You see the
great.
difference?
And like if we do this or put our hands right here, is that okay?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
as long as I can tell that you're taking the test, you guys get into it and you get so intent, right? So, I mean, Katie and I can tell. Katie and I have done this a few times.
Okay.
So, yeah, as long as, again, if you're sitting there having a conversation with somebody in the room, I can only assume that you're cheating, right? I have no, you may be talking about what you're going to do for lunch, but remember I said 0 distractions, 0 distractions. So shut that door and tell everybody to leave you alone. Okay. What math problems can you expect to see if you look in the math workbook and Learn, Test, Pass? It's under the Unit 21 material and Learn, Test, Pass. Page 1 of the math workbook tells you what math you can expect to see. I'm going to talk about change in answers. Okay, I will show you again in just a second. Yes, give me just 1 second. Other questions about the test? I'll show you the relink book and the math workbook. I'll be happy to show you guys that again to make sure that you have that information. Before I do that, may I offer you guys some suggestions? May I offer you some advice? Let's see, YouTube. Yeah, I'll probably stay up forever. Actually, I'm getting ready to take down 20. What year am I in? I'm getting ready to take down 2020 videos. So I say forever. But I don't want outdated information out there on YouTube. But you'll have it for a while. And if you're 2 years from now, just call me and say, Julie, can I have your current YouTube channel link? Whatever class you got going on right now. I always need you guys studying the current material. So if you're 6 months from now, just call me. Hey, Julie, will you send me your current YouTube channel link? And I'm happy to do it. Can you go back and review all answers before submitting? Yes, but I'm getting ready to address that. That makes me nervous when you guys talk about changing answers. May I offer you guys some advice for Tuesday morning? The best advice I can give you, the very best advice I can give you is to breathe. Y'all have got to remember to breathe. It's so easy to, oh my God, I've never seen this before in my entire life. This is brand new information. When you do that, y'all stop. Take a big deep breath, bring yourself back down. You're not doing yourself any good when you're all up there. I will allow you to take a break. I'm not scheduling break time. I will allow you to take a break. All you have to do is communicate with me in direct message. If you want to take a break, say, Julie, I'm taking a break. So remember to breathe. Breathing is very important. I need you to read the question and the answers. Don't just skim through it. Read. If you guys have been doing enough of these practice tests, are we all in agreement now that we now know that every single word means something, doesn't it? Every single word means something. So make sure you're reading the question and the answers Do not, under any circumstances, change your answer unless you are like 5,000% sure that it's wrong. Once you've answered it, move on. Do you guys want to know how many times back in the day when we were in person and Lane and I had to grade these things by hand, how many times I saw right answers change to wrong? You guys might have even done it on your practice tests. Has anybody done it? Change the right answer to wrong? I can't be the only one. Please don't change your answers unless you are 5,000% sure. If you read the question and you're not sure, bookmark it to come back to it. Guys, I've known people to fail this test because they changed too many answers. So I beg you, if you're in that habit, I beg you to stop it. Stop it right now. Most of the time, your first instinct is correct. And if your first instinct isn't speaking up, then bookmark it. You can come back to it. You can spend more time on it. As I said, make sure you answer any skip questions. Click on that See All Questions to make sure they say answered. You don't get credit for anything that's unanswered. Want you guys to take your time, but watch your time. Don't let time get away from you. Again, about 15 minutes left. I'll unmute myself and tell you that I need you to watch your time. Between now and next Tuesday morning, please don't spend all your waking hours studying. You got to put the book down every once in a while. There is such a thing as overdoing it. Go out this weekend and do something else. Go for a ride, go for a walk, go out for dinner, go do something other than study. If you just spend the next, what do we got? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If you just spend the next 4 days in your book, you're going to be over it before you ever get here Tuesday morning. So give yourself some break, give yourself some study time, but give yourself some breaks as well. At some point Monday night, y'all have got to put the book down. What does mama tell you? Mama tells you to get a good night's sleep, doesn't she? So at some point Monday night, you have to know that you know what you know. You know? So at some point Monday night, you got to put the book down, get a good night's sleep. And I think you guys should eat a decent breakfast. Don't eat a big breakfast. I don't want to get your tummy full when you get sleepy. But I also don't want you listening to your stomach growl. That could be distracting too. So get a good night's sleep, eat you a good breakfast. And bottom line, we all wish you the very best, wish you your success. I know this is a big class. I know this is a lot of information. And I hope from day one, you've been preparing, you've been getting ready for Tuesday. Babysitter. Oh, I see what you mean about the night before. I got you. What questions do I have about your exam? Again, I need us all on the same page. A couple of you, I don't know that you were here the whole time, so I'll probably send you an email and make sure that you were aware of the rules and you. If you look in Learn, Test, Pass, a couple of things I'd like to point out to you. Under the 50% material, is your real estate licensing in North Carolina booklet. This is the booklet you use to submit your application and go on to take your state exam. So this is what's next. After you pass, this is what's next. And remember, within this booklet, again, this is for your state exam. I understand that. This is for your state exam. But the breakdown is going to be the same. So if you want to know what topics to focus on, can only expect, a couple questions on property taxation, for example. Brokerage relationships, there's a lot more questions on brokerage relationships, isn't there? There's a lot more questions on contracts. So you can use this if you need a guide. You can use this to help you determine the weight. Again, I'm not telling you this is how many questions on my test, but use it as a guide to help you with the weight of the material. Under Unit 21 is the math workbook. The first page of the math workbook tells you what math you can expect to see on the pre-licensing course final exam to help you focus your energy on what math to focus on. And then don't forget to, at the very bottom in the 100% material, there's an end of course review. What this class did is cover the syllabus. The syllabus prepares you for the state exam. I've prepared this end of course review to help you with my exam. So if you want to know what to focus on, and this does apply to the retake as well. Jane has her recording from her cram course on Saturday in here if you want to watch that. Don't forget you get a cram course with Ann Rashid on Saturday as well. I will email you Ann's Zoom link tomorrow. I will email you Ann's Zoom link tomorrow. That cram course is this Saturday from 9 to 5. You can come as much or as little or none at all. It's up to you. It's completely optional. What questions do I have? And of course, if you think of something later, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You need to ask me now instead of 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning. Yes, ma'am.
Is this the same book? Is it the one we received? Is this the same one that you just showed? Is this updated? This
But
came.
that one
material.
probably says license law and commission rule.
Yeah.
So this one is real estate licensing in North Carolina.
Okay.
Okay. So what you have in your hand is Appendix A that's in your textbook. What you're looking at Learn Test Pass is the, yay, I passed pre-licensing. Now what do I do? How do I get my license in the state of North Carolina?
Okay, so this is Appendix A. Okay, got it.
What other questions do I have? License law and commission rule for your state exam. You can expect about 10 questions. So I have a state section as well. I'm like, you're going to have 10, but you're going to have a good handful of questions from license law and commission rule. I can't tell you exactly how many. Remember, guys, your state section comes from license law and commission rule and state specific topics. How do you find state specific topics? It's labeled as in North Carolina. I don't play around much on test day. I've yet to have an issue. I don't plan on starting. Again, you guys, I know a lot of you have worked really hard for Tuesday. I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to make sure that we don't have distractions, to make sure that you guys get the time that you deserve, to make sure that you are in the environment. Absolutely.
Hey, guys. Can everybody hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. So I put it in the chat a couple of times, but just in case you haven't seen, we have a class study text group And if you want to be a part of it, can you direct message me your phone number and I'll add you? It's been helpful, I think for all of us when we have questions. I just don't want you to think that, I don't want you to feel left out. So please feel free to send me your phone number and I'll be happy to add you.
Thank you, Christina. So when you guys come in on Tuesday, again, I'm not sharing my screen. So this is what you're going to see. Whatever you see right now is what you're going to see. Do you guys see each other? Why don't you wave at each other? Hey, okay. You guys see at the top right, you can minimize your Zoom screen. Everybody see that? You can close it out, you can restore it, or you can minimize it. Once you click on the link and get the exam, I want you to minimize your Zoom. And when you minimize it, you can kind of scoot it off to the side. The only time you should need it is when you're communicating with me via direct message. So obviously you'll have to make it big to send me a message to tell me you're running to the restroom. But other than that, I don't want you guys to be distracted by looking at each other. That's mine and Katie's job, is to look at you guys. We want you guys to focus on your test. So you can minimize Zoom and tuck it away so you won't be distracted by each other. Everybody good? Everybody see what I'm talking about? We can make it small and kind of push it off to the side. Okay. Well, guys, that's all I have. I'm officially done. Now, hang on before you go anywhere. I'm going to keep the call open for as long as I need to. I got to take a break because I'm out of coffee. So I am still going to take a 10-minute break. You're welcome to go if you want to go. Class is officially over. If you want to stay and ask questions, if you want to hear what other questions are being asked, you're welcome to. But if you need to go study, by all means, I want you to use this time to your advantage. So I'm going to take a 10-minute break. If you want to hang out, we can, like I said, a little Q&A, whatever, go over math problems, anything related to the exam on Tuesday. I'm happy to just kind of calling it a free-for-all. So if you don't have any other questions, I plan to see you guys on Tuesday. If you want to come back in 10 minutes and chit chat some more, I'm happy to do so as well. Again, I want you guys to use this time what's best for you. Fair enough? Oh, I have one more thing to say. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I knew there was something else. Also, after the class, Lane is going to send you guys a survey about the class and about myself. I appreciate your feedback, your constructive feedback. It helps me grow. It helps the school improve. It's anonymous. So if you're worried about hurting my little feelings, you don't have to. It's completely anonymous, but your feedback is absolutely appreciated. So I thank you guys for that. I know Lane does as well. All right, 10 minutes. Either you go or we come back and we do an overall free-for-all. Q&A. Again, this is your time. Cameras on, cameras off, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not taking attendance. You want to go, go. You want to stay, we're here. So for those of you that are here, what questions do you have? What problems do you want to look at? What topics do you want to go over again? What would you like?
Julie,
Mhm.
hi. Can you give me a definition of an open listing?
Yep. So let's look at this together. If you're like me, I'm a visual person,
Very much so.
but I could stand here and talk about it, but I think it's better if we see it. So let's look at it. Open listings, first off, as this is coming up. Open listings are not allowed in most MLSs. I know, for example, they're not allowed in the Triad MLS. I obviously can't speak for others, but I know others frown upon them as well. So this is one of those that you're not going to use in practice, but we need to be aware of what it is so you don't use it. So with an open listing is non-exclusive, which means you have multiple listing agents. The seller hires 2 or 20 agents. The one that gets paid is the one that brings the buyer. If none of these agents bring the buyer, then nobody gets paid. Your job isn't to list it. Your job is to bring the buyer. So in an open listing, if you want to get paid, you have to bring a buyer. Can we see why these are not allowed? Would you willingly enter into one of these? Goodness, I hope not.
So
And
could
MLS
the,
isn't gonna allow it. Mhm.
seller sign listings with all of these agents?
They have listing agreements. They have an open listing agreement with multiple
Whoever.
agents. Yep,
Okay.
multiple agents. Yep.
Thank you very
Now
much.
let's look at this compared to the other type of listing agreements that we have to make sure we're good. Another type of listing agreement we have is called an exclusive agency listing. In an exclusive agency, how many firms is the seller dating? It's exclusive. So the seller's only
One.
dating one firm. Exclusive agency, if that one firm wants to get paid, they have to bring the buyer. So they list it, one firm. How do they get paid? They bring the buyer.
Right.
While this one is allowed, I'm here to tell you guys, I've never ever seen it. I'm not saying it's not out there. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but in my 20 years, I have never seen an exclusive agency. So what do we get to deal with all the time? Exclusive right to sell. And this is the one. How many firms? How many listing firms?
One.
Seller's just dating one firm. We get paid no matter where the buyer comes from. Do I bring the buyer? Do you bring the buyer? Does the seller obtain the buyer? Doesn't matter. I get paid no matter where the buyer comes from. So that's really the difference in the three. Open is
Okay.
multiple. The other ones, it depends on when we get paid. This is the only one in my career that I've ever seen. So if that gives you some comfort there.
Thank you.
Of course.
On Saturday in the cram course, there was a math problem with math that we did not learn in class.
Okay.
So
And what,
someone said that you had posted a video somewhere, but we didn't learn it in class. It was how to qualify for a loan with a 28% and 36% ratio.
that's correct. And
Can you
we
see the
did
problem?
we did not cover in that in class because you're not going to see that on my test. So I made the executive decision not to cover that, but instead, and bear with me for 1 second, you don't need to worry about that until you go for your state exam, possibly until you go for your state exam. So hang on, give me 1 second. That's the night class.
I think it's titled Qualifying the Buyer.
Correct. It's in our YouTube channel. And I'm trying to find our YouTube channel right now. And of course I can't because, but it's in our YouTube channel and it's called Qualifying the Buyer. And I chose not to cover it because you're not going to see it. Here it is. I would rather use this time. If you guys want to, I'm happy. to do it, but I would rather focus on things that you can see. So it's, yeah, qualifying a buyer math. So we walk through, and again, you may see it on your state exam, but you're not going to see it on mine. So remember, the math you're going to see on mine is what you can find in the math workbook.
Julie, can I get that link one more time to the YouTube? I'm sorry.
Nope.
I have a question, Julie.
Yes.
So during the cram course, I'm sure others have heard her mention that soon as the class starts, we can write down formulas.
Anything you want on your scratch paper. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep. But you have to wait until the exam starts.
Okay.
Okay. I can't have you before we begin, right? So
Right.
your blank paper stays blank until the class begins. Well, sorry, until
Okay.
the exam begins. Once it begins, you can put down all your formulas, you know, whatever tips and tricks you got stored up here. And I encourage you to use your scratch paper. I used to, back in the day when we were in person and you would turn your scratch paper into me and it'd be blank. And I'm like, why are you not using paper to like draw pictures and write down formulas and stuff? So you have the paper there to use it. If you need more paper, just tell me in the chat, Julie, I need another piece of paper, right? If you're leaving your camera for any reason, you're letting me know. Okay, Mindy, did you see the link? The
Yes,
YouTube
ma'am, I
channel?
got it.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Oh, hang on. We're going to go over Joint Tennessee and Tennessee in Common. So let me get that up. Again, if you guys are like me, I'm such a visual person. I got to see it. So let's pull that up. Okay, so there's different forms of ownership. There are different forms of ownership. If you are if you're ownership and severalty, you're a sole owner. One person or one entity owns in severalty. You have severed everybody else away from you. That's how they look at that. So you've severed everybody else away. It's just you, one person, one entity. If you're a concurrent form of ownership, that's two or more people own it or entities own it. Could be 2 people, could be 200 people. Okay. So of the concurrent forms of ownership, and again, I think pictures help. Tennessee in Common is typically uneven shares. So Tennessee in Common are uneven shares. And with Tennessee in Common, when an owner passes away, their ownership interest is transferred to their heirs. So in our picture here, I have 2 people that own Tennessee in Common. One owns 60 and one owns 40%. The individual with 60% passes away. Their 60% is divvied amongst their heirs. In this example, they only have 2 heirs. If they had 6 heirs, then they would each get 10%, right? The person that owned 40 before still owns 40 now, right? Their ownership interest didn't change. It was just the owner that passed away. Tennessee in Common does not have right of survivorship. No right of survivorship. We'll talk about that in just a second. Joint Tennessee, typically ownership is equal shares. You got 4 people, everybody owns 25%. So typically ownership is equal shares. If joint Tennessee in North Carolina is added, if right of survivorship in North Carolina is added to joint Tennessee, what right of survivorship says, when you have 2 owners, right of survivorship says, when something happens to one, their remaining interest automatically goes to the other owners. So in our case, two people own 50-50. One owner passes. I don't care what your will says. Joint tenancy will override a will. So your 50% after the owner passes away does not go to the other owner, does not go to your heirs. Right of survivorship says it goes to the other owners.
Hey, Julie,
Yeah.
I thought, well, I'm still learning, but isn't that different for the state? Kind of with the heirs, if you have it in writing?
As we just said, in North
Okay.
Carolina, right of survivorship has to be added. It's got to be purposely created.
Okay.
So in other words, North Carolina, you're right. North Carolina doesn't favor right of survivorship. You can do it, but you have to create it.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Yep. With joint tenancy, in order to be a joint tenant, everybody has to take title at the same time. Everybody's got to be there at the same time, all taking the same document, the same title. Everybody's all there together. So if in joint tenancy, let's say you have 4 people that all show up at the attorney's office all at the same time, they all sign the same document, and they all own 25%. You got owner A, owner B, owner C, and owner D. They are all in as joint tenants because they all took title all at the same time. If somewhere down the road, B decides to sell their shares, B says, I'm out. You guys are driving me nuts. I'm going to sell my ownership to E. E cannot come in as a joint tenant because E was not there when we originally took title. E is the new guy. You can only be a joint tenant if you come in at the same time. So E would come in as a tenant in common. A, C, and D would still be joint tenants, but the new guy would come in as tenant in common. Yeah, I heard a question.
Yeah, so is this if there's no right of survivorship?
Correct.
Okay, just making sure.
Well, they're not dying. I'm sorry, they're not dying. They're just selling their shares. They're conveying their interest. They're conveying their 25%. I'm sorry. Yeah, some people like to remember joint tenancy. You don't pass a joint to your kids. So the ownership doesn't get passed down. At least some of it you don't, I hope, but hey, what you do on your own time is, but you guys with me, that's one way people remember it, joint tenancy. You don't pass a joint to your kids. So when an owner of joint tenancy passes away, the heirs don't get it. It goes to the other owners with right of survivorship. The other form of ownership is tenancy by the entirety. Those are people that are married at the time they take title. People that are married at the time they take title. And with tenancy by the entirety, right of survivorship is automatic.
And can I add something else that I was kind of
Please.
looking at too when I was taking one of the, I think it's the 25% maybe, that it's unless otherwise stated that if it's a married couple, it's automatically tenancy by the entirety.
It is the default.
And if they aren't married, it's automatically joint.
Nothing automatic. If they're not married, they have to choose joint tenancy or tenancy in common.
Okay.
Guys, married people can choose to be joint tenants. Right?
But
So
not the other way around.
default, if you're married, is tenancy by the entirety. But a married couple could be joint tenants. A married couple could be tenants in common, but they have to specifically state that. If they don't state it, they're going to be tenancy by the entirety. That's what we mean by it's the default. So when you're married, when you're taking title, you take title as tenancy by the entirety.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, with tenancy in common, if it's owned by two people and one person dies, but they don't have a will, does the other person get full?
You're getting into law school at this point.
Okay.
So for our purposes, when one owner dies, the interest is going to go to their heirs.
Okay.
Yep. And you can see, can you guys see how fast this can get out of hand? Because what if one of these owners dies? Now their 30% goes on to their heirs, and then their heirs is heirs, and then their heirs is heirs is heirs. You guys see where we're going with this? So this is absolutely one of these topics where we know just enough to be dangerous, but we also need to know when to contact an attorney. So if you're in this kind of situation, guys, I'm not telling anybody how to take title. When I'm working with an unmarried couple, I'm not telling, oh, y'all should do right joint tenancy with right of survivorship. That's giving legal advice. So when you're working with the unmarried couple, y'all can't whip out your pre-licensing textbook and say, oh, I got this. This is on page 36. This is when we contact an attorney. You guys with me? We're teaching, so much of this class is giving you guys just enough knowledge to make you dangerous. So telling somebody how to take title is not my job. That's the attorney's job. I don't know if I told you guys, I had an unmarried couple a couple years ago. They were moving down from New York to buy a house. And I knew they weren't married. And I knew they couldn't be tenancy by the entirety. So I set up a conference call with our closing attorney. They talked to her for like 5 minutes on their lunch break. I wasn't part of the call. But the attorney discussed with them the difference in joint tenancy and tenancy by the entirety. And I'm pretty sure, again, I'm not an attorney. Let me preface this and say I'm not an attorney, but I'm pretty sure the difference came down to when one of you dies, what do you want to have happen to your interest? And I'm pretty sure that's how the attorney can tell the difference if they want joint tenancy or tenancy in common.
Thank you. That helps me because I was kind of struggling with it a little bit, but that clarifies.
Good. Good. Okay. Everybody good on this? Let's see. I got a request to do PITI math. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes on this. So let me pull it up real quick. And we'll look at that. All right, first off, what the heck is PITI? PITI consists of your entire mortgage payment, everything you're sending to the bank every month. So the P is your principal. The principal is your loan amount, your balance. How much do you owe the bank? The first I is your interest. That's what the bank charges you to borrow the money. Principal and interest together make up your debt service. Your debt service is principal and interest. Add to your PI are your taxes and insurance. They take a 12th of your annual taxes. They take a 12th of your annual insurance. Each month you make your mortgage payment, they put a 12th of those annual bills in an escrow account designated specifically for you. And then when those bills come due, when your taxes and insurance come due, they will pay those bills on your behalf. So principal and interest is your debt service that you owe the bank. Taxes and insurance is what goes into your escrow account so they can pay those bills on your behalf. Your debt service is amortized each month. So an amortized loan means you're making full equal payments every month. Your debt service is the same for the life of the loan. And to amortize the loan, you first have to find how much is going to be applied to monthly interest, how much is going to be applied to monthly principal, and how much is applied to next month's balance. How much do you owe the bank going into the next month? The principal is what reduces your balance. If you know these three formulas, you could amortize your loan for the next 360 months. If it's a 30-year loan, you're going to make the same payment for 360 months. The amount doesn't change. It's how much is applied to the principal and the interest. So these three formulas, I sometimes call them 3 steps. You could get a test question that wants to know what is next month's balance. You could get a test question that wants to know what your first month's monthly principal is. You could get a test question asking you for monthly interest. But this is all the information you need to amortize it for the life of the loan. Every month, how much is applied to principal and how much is applied to interest, understanding you're paying the same each month. I like the picture a whole lot on page 374. You guys can picture it this way too. My homeowners know what I speak of. Where are you guys out there? I know I have homeowners out here. You know exactly what I speak of. When you first start making those mortgage payments, you're paying just a little bit of principal and a whole lot of interest, aren't you? You're wondering if you're paying yourself or the bank. And guess what? At first, you're paying the bank. The bank's going to get paid first, yes? And as time goes on, you start paying more and more principal and less interest until you get to the end of the loan. Now, who are you paying? Now you're just giving a little bit of interest, but now you're paying off that principal. And that's what that picture on page 374 shows us. The payment amount is the same. What changes is how much is applied to principal and how much is applied to interest.
Which on a tangent is why it's so important, if at all possible, to pay a little bit extra. Get that
Exactly
principal
right.
down.
Even if, when I bought my little condo in 2006, I was young when I bought my condo in 2006. And the attorney was a friend of mine. And he looked at me and he said, Julie, even if you can put down 20 extra bucks a month, even if you can swing 20 bucks a month, it's going to make a big difference in how much interest you pay the bank. And I just paid my condo off. I had 2006. What I have it for 16 years, a 30-year loan. I paid it off in 16 years. And part of that is because I was, in some months, I was only gonna put 10 extra bucks on it. But you know what? Every little bit makes that big difference towards the ending balance.
Good for you. That's great.
Yeah, I went through a period to the housing market crash. I went through a period of tough times, so I was only making a minimum payments. But other than that, it was, you know, $10 here, and it makes all the difference.
Yeah, I've heard like if you could, if possible, you take like 1 month's payments and divide it by 12 and add that to
Exactly.
the monthly payment. It's like you're making 13 payments.
So you're putting in 13 payments a month on principal. That's exactly right.
I've heard that can like make a 30-year mortgage act more like a 15-year mortgage if you can afford it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just make sure before you all start throwing more money at your lender, just make sure you don't have like a prepayment penalty and you know, nothing like that, right? Just check your promissory note, or if you're not sure, just pick up the phone and call your lender or email them.
And
But before
always,
you start throwing them more money, make sure you can.
I'd say always negotiate that if possible. No prepayment
Oh, yeah.
penalty and
Absolutely.
and we had because the house we were in now, we bought in the state. The guy had passed away in a nursing home, and everything was kind of weird, and didn't realize we were not paying the P&I was not the taxes and interest. Excuse me, taxes and insurance were not included. So that
So it
was
was an
quite-
escrow.
it wasn't included at all. Well, quite a shock the first year when we got the $4,000 bill at the end of the year, because
Right.
the mortgage didn't include that. First time I ever had that. Definitely worth negotiating.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Include those payments.
And know the terms of your loan so you know what you can and can't do. Let's see, request to do a math problem after this slide. Is it this type of math problem? You want, where are you? Yes, okay. So you're going to get information about the loan. And when you amortize monthly, I suggest setting yourself up with nice, neat rows and columns. So you can see what it is that you're doing. So like this is month 1 of your loan, this is month 2, this is month 3, and so on for 360 months. All you need to amortize this thing for 30 years, I need the balance, which on month 1 is how much do you owe the bank? What was your loan amount that you borrowed from the bank? We need our monthly payment. The monthly payment stays the same for the life of the loan. So month 1, your monthly payment is $499.55. Month 2, your monthly payment is $499.55. Month 213, your monthly payment is $499.55. The monthly payment stays the same for the life of the loan. So I need those 2 pieces of information and the interest rate. That's all I need. I can now amortize this loan for 360 months. Each month you do those 3 steps again, those 3 formulas. So if you look at those 3 formulas to start, you got your balance times your interest rate. Balance times the interest rate will always give you annual interest. So balance times the interest rate gives you annual interest. You divide by 12. To get monthly interest. Yep, it's in Learn, Test, Pass already. Yep, thank you. So your first month's monthly interest of the monthly payment, you're going to apply $416.67. monthly interest, the first month. Step 2 is to find my first month's monthly principal. Your monthly payment is made up of your interest and your principal. Yes, your debt service is your principal and your interest. Everybody in agreement with me? So to find your monthly payment, I'm sorry, your monthly principal, you take the payment minus the interest to get your first month's monthly principal. That's step 2, formula 2. I always think this is a great place to stop and check yourself, because interest plus principal should equal your monthly payment, because that's what it is. That's what your monthly payment is consisted of. Oh, the one for this Saturday, Ann doesn't record. Ann doesn't record. So the cram course this Saturday, you'll need to be there if you want it. Then the third step is to find your balance going into month 2. How much do you owe the bank once you make that first monthly payment? Principal reduces the balance. Principal reduces the balance. So you had a starting balance of 100,000. You made a payment towards your principal of 8288. So now you have a balance going into month 2 of $99,917.12. And then you would do your 3 steps over. The new balance of $99,917.12 times the interest rate gives you annual interest divided by 12. 3 steps. Question comes in, death doesn't terminate a lease. That's correct. Death is in and out for a contract. A lease is a legally binding contract. So if you pass away, your heirs are expected to carry through with the terms of this contract. And if they don't, then they're in breach. Okay. Everybody good? You got your steps? Again, I think the key, honestly, you guys, I think the key to this is to set yourself up with nice, neat rows and columns. So you can see exactly what you're looking at. And if you're asked this on a test, I mean, don't worry, they're not going to ask you to go into month 13 or something, right? They're going to ask you about the monthly interest, the monthly balance, or the principal in the first month or the second month. They're not going to expect you to go into, for time purposes, they're not going to expect you to go in. Okay.
I remember learning a formula for that, and that was not easy.
What's that?
Figuring out like whatever the interest would be on month.
It's just 3 formulas, just 3 steps. Yep.
I meant like those back in college, I think, like a formula for learning, for figuring out like what your interest is going to be in month, whatever, after 2.5 years or something.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. No, for time purposes, they're not going to ask you, like I said, to go much into the, first month, second month. Yep. Yep. Because you are time. Now, maybe if you had all day to take the test, that would be a different story. But okay. Let's see. We got a question to go over the different appraisal types.
Yes, Julie, I'm a little bit confused about like when you would use each one still.
All right, hang on. I'm sorry. How did I get the 4.6, the monthly interest balance times the interest rate equals annual interest. Divide by 12 to get monthly. The three approaches to value, please understand, these are the three approaches that the appraiser takes. When we talk about the three approaches to value, these are the steps, these are the approaches that the appraiser takes. The appraiser is coming up with their opinion of value. So one step that an appraiser can take to determine value is the sales comparison approach. And this is the one that the appraiser compares recently sold, closed properties, similar properties nearby to the subject. They're looking for comps that are similar to the subject as possible. The fewer adjustments they have to make to the comps, the better. When the appraiser is taking this approach, never ever adjust the subject. Always adjust the comp to match the subject. So y'all remember a little hand trick? Let me sit back so I don't think I'm punching you. Remember your little hand trick? Your subject property is your left hand that goes straight out in front of you, and it never, ever, ever changes. If you have a comp with a superior feature, you have a comp with a feature higher than the subject. Maybe this is a 3-bedroom and your comp has a 4-bedroom. How do you make your comp, your superior comp, match your subject?
Subtract.
You deduct. You subtract. So if you guys remember the hand trick, you have your subject property, superior comps, you subtract. What if you have a comp with an inferior? Let's say subject's 3-bedroom and the comp only has 2 bedrooms. What do you have to do to make your comp match your subject? You add. So if you do your hand trick, I think that'll help.
Hey, Julie, I have one question on that. I don't even remember where is maybe, I'm sure it was probably learn, test, pass, but there's a question where there's a 2.5 bathroom and there's a 3 bathroom, right? So I can't remember if the subject had a 2.5 and the comp had 3. I can't remember. And then it gives you the amounts.
Mm-hmm.
So I know like who's above who, but then it gives you the amounts and it says like a full bathroom is 2,500, a half bathroom is 1,500.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was doing was adding or subtracting, I can't remember which one it was, a half bathroom, and that was wrong.
Because
I don't remember why. I'll try to find the question and send it
when
to you.
you find it, let me see it.
Because it was something like it was making me like add a full bath and then take away a half or something.
Boy, that
I did
kind of
it
sounds
2
like
and 3
appraisal
times.
school, doesn't it? Yeah.
I
When
did
you
it
come across that, let me see it. That's the kind of thing that, like I said, that's the appraiser's job. And so when,
Okay.
for your exam, they got to give you that value, right? So if they tell you,
Well, it gave me the value and I did it with a half bathroom and then it was wrong and it showed me why. And I was like, well, that doesn't make a bit of sense to me. I'm sure it
and
was
that's
in
why I
Learn,
would like to
Test, Pass,
see it.
so I'll see if I can
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah. Don't spend all your study time looking for it, but if
I won't
come across it again, yeah, I'd like to see that one. The sales comparison approach for the appraiser is the best approach when they're trying to put their opinion of value on single family homes and land. So resale, what I'm saying here is resale homes, resale condos, resale townhomes. Sales comparison approach for the appraiser is best for resale, single family homes and land. The appraiser may also look at the cost approach. The cost approach separates the structure and the land. The appraiser puts a value on
Hey,
the
I'm on
land.
break.
Okay. I called Holiday Tours and they said they would be on the lookout for my little makeup bag.
They put value on land as if the land was vacant. So they may do the sales comparison approach to put a value on the land, pretend like there's not a structure. And then they put a value on the structure. We talked about the reproduction cost or the replacement cost. What would it cost to build the structure, basically? What would it cost to build the structure? They also need to take into consideration depreciation. Depreciation is just the loss in value for any reason. Time depreciates structures. So once they have a cost for the structure and a cost for the land, they add the two together to offer their opinion of value for the property. Cost approach is best for special use properties. Think churches, schools, libraries, hospitals. Cost approach is also good for new construction. So resale is best for sales comparison approach. New construction is best for cost approach. The appraiser can always look at cost approach. Remember, with the three approaches, they're trying to look at as many as they can. When we say single or sales comparison is best for single family homes, cost approach is best for special properties, that's what they're going to put the most weight on. And then the third approach that the appraiser can take to find value is the income capitalization approach. This approach is best for properties that produce an income. The theory behind this approach is that the value of the building is based on how much rent it collects. Is it a large apartment complex, which is what you're looking at in this picture? How much rent can that apartment complex collect? And that's how they're going to arrive at value using the income capitalization approach. Is it an office park? Any income producing properties. So those are the appraiser's three approaches to value. Is that good, Essence? Is that?
Yes,
Trying to keep
that
it
helped a
simple.
lot.
Okay, good, good. I mean, I could go into all this detail again. You guys got the recording if you want to go into the detail again. I'm just trying to keep it simple right now. As simple as I can keep this stuff, right?
No, that helped a lot.
Okay, good, good. So let's see, up next, we got a request for TRID. TRID, as I'm pulling this up, first off, you guys please understand, TRID is a lender law. TRID is a lender law. So if it's a cash buyer, TRID is not around. TRID is a lender law meant to protect the consumer. And the consumer in this transaction is the buyer, because they are the ones originating the loan. The seller is the consumer in their loan. They're the borrower in their loan. In this transaction, TRID is protecting the borrower because they're the ones getting the loan. And TRID is the acronym of all acronyms. TRID stands for TILA RESPA Integrated Disclosure. TILA is our Truth in Lending Act. TILA tells the consumer how much does it cost them to get the loan. TILA is the cost to get the loan. RESPA is the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. RESPA tells the consumer how much does it cost to close? How much is it going to cost me to go to settlement? TILA's always been around, RESPA's always been around. What TRID did was integrate them. It combined them. We talked about a couple of things with TILA and TRID. The big thing for TILA that we need to be aware of I would say the big thing for TILA that we need to be aware of is advertising rules. Bless you. The lender can't, I saw your little ponytail flip. The lender can't advertise certain terms of the loan, specifics of the loan, without giving all of the information. So what the lender looks at are something called, or the advertising regulations known as trigger terms. These are actual numbers about the loan. And please note that this says about the loan. Is the sales price of the home about the loan? Can I advertise the sales price? Yeah, because it's not about the loan. HOA dues. Can I tell you how much HOA dues are and not hit a trigger term? Yes, because it's not about the loan. Everybody see that? So trigger terms about the loan are, do you guys hear the difference? If I say 0 down payment versus low down payment. 0 down payment is a specific number about the loan. How much do you have to put down to get this loan? $0. The lender has hit a trigger term. If the lender says low down payment, they've not hit a specific number. And that's what the advertising guidelines are about. Let's see, we talked about specific numbers, trigger terms, can be numbers about the down payment, the amount of the down payment, the amount of any payment. You can buy this house and all your payments will be $800. That's a trigger term. That's a specific number about the payment. The number of payments is a trigger term, specific number. The period of repayment, is it a 15-year loan, 20-year loan, 30-year loan? And the dollar amount of the financing charge, finance charge. Guys, the reason behind this, every single loan applicant comes in with a different credit history. We all on this call, we all have different credit scores. We all have a different credit history. We all have a different debt to income ratio. And what TILA says that if the lender is bold enough to give a specific number, basically what they're saying is this loan is a one size fits all. And if the lender is bold enough to give a specific number, then they need to be prepared to disclose all of the terms of the loan. And they're trying to discourage the lender from hitting a specific number because loans aren't a one size fits all.
Hey, Julie.
Yeah.
This is where like on TV, where the person starts talking really, really fast because they have
they say 0 down and they go, you know,
yes,
right. And,
okay.
and the words get like, you know, that evidently there's no guidelines on how they get the information across. They just have to, you don't have to be able to understand it or see it, but you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
It's like verbal fine print.
Yep. Maybe we need to go back in time and get a VCR so we can slow watch that thing, right? Or slow listen to it and blow it up so we can see it. It's there. Like I said, evidently there's no guidelines on how they get you the information. The rule just says when they hit a specific term, basically they have to give you all the information about the loan. And that's the big thing we talked about with TILA, was the advertising guidelines. RESPA gives us some settlement guidelines. How many days after loan application does the lender have to provide the loan estimate? How many days after loan application does the lender have to provide the loan estimate? Okay, well, hang on. Let me ask you another question. How many days prior to settlement is the lender supposed to provide the borrower the closing disclosure? How many days prior to settlement does the lender have to provide the closing disclosure? I'm seeing a couple of you saying 3. So it's for both. 3 days from loan application, they have to provide the loan estimate. These are RESPA terms. 3 days from loan application, they need to provide the loan estimate. 3 days before settlement, the lender needs to provide the borrower their closing disclosure. The seller has no days because the seller is not who we're protecting in this transaction. There are no rules for the seller.
Real quick, before we move off of the truth in lending, there was this is another one of those questions where it had like, is this sign okay? And there was nothing in it except for the APR. So like it said, $230,000 house, 4.25% interest rate. So, and I think it was like, is this in violation of advertising? I don't remember how exactly. So and that always throws me off because that's a number. So does that 4.25% interest rate that must be disclosed, but there were no trigger terms?
Correct. Because a trigger term is just the amount of down payment, the amount of any payment, the number of payments, the payment of period of repayments, and the dollar amount of APR is not a trigger term.
So it is not in violation. If I put up a sign outside my house that says $100,000 to buy my house at 5%, at 5%, I'm not violating TILA.
Correct, because trigger terms include the amount of down payment, the amount of any payments, number of payments, payment of period of repayment, and dollar amount of finance.
So if I put that sign up that says $100,000 and you can repay it in 360 payments, now I have to put the loan amount, down payment,
Yeah, you've hit a trigger term.
Okay, that interest rate's gonna throw me off every time.
So amount of down payment, amount of any payment, number of payments, period of payment, dollar amount. See, this is the kind of thing they like to do because you see a number and you go, oh, there's a number. So knowing that a number is hit is only part of it. Again, another way I've seen them try putting in the purchase price. If you read too fast, you see the purchase price, you go, oh, they hit a number, but the purchase price isn't a trigger term. The HOA dues aren't a trigger term. Interest rate, APR.
And the regulation Z, am I doing that right? Is this coming to my head right? The regulation Z is the same thing.
Correct.
Okay.
TILA is also known as regulation Z. What's RESPA also known as? Regulation what? What's
X.
RESPA? Regulation X. Yep.
Okay.
TILA is also known as Z. RESPA is X. Again, you guys, TILA, when you see TILA, see lending. It's the cost to obtain the loan. You're educating, you're informing the consumer how much it's going to cost them to get the loan. When you see RESPA is the cost to close. You're informing the consumer how much it'll cost them to close. What else? Is this helpful?
Yeah,
Is this good?
helpful.
This is
Yeah,
good, good. I just started doing this a couple classes ago, and I think so far it's makes me nervous because I don't know what's going to fall out of y'all's mouth, but so far so good.
I do have one question, Julie. When I was looking
Yeah,
through
then
the
Essence,
100,
I'll get you.
when I was looking through the 100% thing on Learn Test Pass, there was some of Lane's tips, and one of them said take the test in the book on page like 817 or something, the final on page 817. And it said something like, this will be a good indicator of how well you will do on the final. And it's very different than Learn Test Pass in, you know, in some ways. So I guess my question is, do we need to kind of have Learn Test Pass 100% and 815 of the textbook ingrained? If we can do both of those, we're in good shape. Or is Learn Test Pass enough? I mean, I know that's different for every person, but what's your...
I'm all about just comprehensive exams at this point, and that's why we give you a couple here, one in the book, because at this point, you guys, it's kind of all about practice. It's fine tuning that information. You know, that's why she suggests not saying that your test is going to be the comprehensive exam on page 815, but it's that practice. And if you know, what she's trying to say here is if you're not passing the comprehensive exam in the book or the one in Learn Test Pass, then we need to, you know, get you some more points somewhere, right? So you can go through the book, you can go through Learn Test Pass. If you say, well, my goodness, I missed a lot of questions on agency, then you may want to go through and fine tune agency before the test. So she recommends the practice test at the end of each chapter, and then the comprehensive exam. And then, as you're saying, you know, you got the Learn Test Pass. There's two. There's, you know, this one, the interactive one that kind of gives you the answer. And then there's this flat PDF. So what she's just trying to get you guys to do is practice taking tests at this point. Encouraging you to take tests.
That's kind of where I'm at, is I'm just doing that 100% and then the PDF final, and I'm getting ready to do the book 815.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you miss a question, look it up, right? That should trigger you to go back to review that section. You know, maybe you missed it because you read it too fast or you skipped a word. So again, learn from that, right? We're trying to work out the kinks before next week. So if you're always missing a question going, dang it, I knew that, I just read it too fast. Listen to what you're saying. Listen to what you're telling yourself. Slow down just a hair.
That's
and
my
pay attention
problem.
to those words. You go too fast.
I was doing for true things. I was reading a couple of the sentences that, oh, I know what that is. And it was saying that what's the truth, or it was saying what's the false, or what's the except. And I'm like, yeah.
Yep. So slow down just here. And I don't want you guys to run out of time, right? This is why, and good. Another thing that practice test questions can help you do is time yourself. What do we say, about 2 minutes and 20 seconds per test question, roughly? So if you're working with a clock, you know, with I think you guys should be doing, so you can make sure that you get the test done in time. Work with a clock. Set the timer on your phone. Essence, you had a question?
I did. Could you briefly go over, let me make sure I say this, the void versus voidable contracts?
While she's looking for that, Mindy, you said, I'm looking at Lane's study tips and it says 815, page 815 of the textbook. And that's, I'm not seeing that. 8:15. I'm
So-
seeing that on Lane's.
Well, I think Lane wants you to start at 8:15 because it gives you study tips, right? And then when you flip over.
Oh, I
to
see
the-
it.
the
I see
exam
it.
actually starts on 8:19, so that's where that section starts. Is 8:15, because I think
posted.
study tips are also important. Like I said, breathe. That's the best piece of advice I have to offer you guys. Just breathe. Let's see. All right. So let's talk about the validity of contracts. A valid contract contains all the essential elements, the essential ingredients that we talked about. A valid contract is fully enforceable in a court of law. What do I mean by that? If you take a valid contract to a judge and you say, I want to get out of this contract, the judge is going to look it over. They're going to look for their essential elements. And the judge is going to say, you can get out of it, but you're going to be in breach. There's nothing wrong with this contract. A valid contract can and will stand up in a court of law all by itself. A valid contract can become voidable. The contract itself, you guys see these lines here? The contract, that was a poor line, but you're with me. The contract itself is perfectly valid, but it can become voidable because one party has the right to go to a judge and say, I shouldn't have to carry through with the terms of the contract. Examples of that one party. One example might be a minor. A minor can enter into a valid contract, but a minor can't be forced to complete a valid contract. The minor could make it voidable. Look, man, I'm only 16 and a half years old. You can't make me complete the terms of this contract. And the judge is going to say, you're right, it's voidable. One party. What if somebody was intoxicated or under the influence when they entered into the contract? They could take it to a judge and say, I was drunk as a skunk when I signed this thing. You cannot make me carry through with the terms of the contract. They could make it voidable. Please understand, it doesn't automatically become voidable. That one party has to take it to the judge for the judge to make it voidable. So the judge is going to look at the contract and say, well, it's perfectly valid. This isn't a problem with the contract itself. The problem is with the person. A valid contract can also become unenforceable. An oral agreement is an example of an unenforceable. Either party can go to the judge and say, you can't hold me to a handshake. That's a he said, she said thing. So an oral agreement, the contract may be valid. We may have shooken hands on all the essential elements, but the fact that we don't have anything in writing makes it unenforceable. The void contract is missing one of the essential elements. So with the void contract, in a sense, you never had a contract to begin with. Remember with the essential elements, think about like required cake ingredients. If you don't have flour, you don't have cake, right? So if you don't have mutual assent, then you don't have a valid contract. So the void is missing one or more of the essential elements. But again, I think the thing to understand, a void contract can go to completion. The parties have to go to the judge for the judge to make it void. The parties have to go to the judge for the judge to make it voidable or unenforceable. Every single one of these could go to closing unless the judge declares you're a minor, you don't have to carry through. You guys are in this agreement on a handshake.
Julie, I understand that it can go all the way through, but if it's a void contract, then do you have, and you go through closing, I mean, do you have anything that you can take to the registrar?
Probably not, right? Because we didn't enter into a contract. So now, obviously, you did this without attorneys. So remember, North Carolina is a pure race state. So this could be where the shady seller sells their property twice, right? I sell it to
Oh,
you, you think
yeah.
you own the property, but you have no deed, you have no documentation, you think you own it. But then in the meantime, I turn around and sell it to somebody else, and they run down to the courthouse and record their deed. Who's the judge is gonna say is the actual owner?
For the first one that recorded it.
Hint, it's not you, right? Because even if I'm just the shady seller over here, I'm making all the money by selling my home as many times as I possibly can. Who's the one that's gonna be the winner? The one that gets to the courthouse first. And that's why we say North Carolina is a pure race state. That's why we absolutely want to get attorneys involved. Even if, guys, people buy and sell houses all day, every day without the assistance of an agent. You can go for sale by owner and you can have an unrepresented buyer. They don't need us, but they at least have to have an attorney to draft up their legally binding contract, to record their deed, that kind of thing. So if they go without the assistance of a broker, they still have an attorney. Back in 1995, my parents bought their house. I didn't know then what I know now, obviously. Today, when I think about it, I cringe. They were an unrepresented buyer that went through a for sale by owner. And again, it was different times in 1995 than what it is today. And every time my mother reminds me of that, I just go, oh, please don't talk about it, because now I know all the things that could have gone wrong. But they also hired an attorney.
Yeah.
To make sure that their best interests were protected. So at least they did that.
I did that with the first condo I bought. The guy, the seller just had a thing about salespeople. He was a Vietnam vet with unfortunate issues. And we did use an attorney at the end, but he said he would not sell to anybody if it involved an agent.
Right.
He was a strange guy. Yeah. The mail I got from that first month was not, was very unusual.
And I tell you guys, our profession is coming under fire right now. A lot of people are out there saying, why do we need an agent? We can just hire an attorney. And we're going to have to start working harder to prove, because buyers can go to Zillow and find a house for sale, right? They don't need me to tell them what's available. They can go hire an attorney. I mean, why do I have an agent? And we're going to have to start working a little bit harder to prove our worth to the consumer. I don't know. Zillow provides a lot of information, but Zillow can't negotiate what's best on your behalf. Zillow can't guide you, point you in the right direction. So I think there's going to be some interesting changes to our industry. Technology is prevailing. Technology is taking over, and we're going to see some shifts. It may not be tomorrow, but I think in the near future, we're going to see some shifts.
Our neighbor almost didn't use an agent to sell their house because there's something online you can do. It's like almost like a virtual agent type thing.
Several out there right now. Yep. Are you guys not getting letters? I get a letter every day. I can sell your house for, and then it's like a range from like $70,000. I'm like, that's a heck of a range you're saying there. You know, obviously it's a big blanket letter. So validity of a contract, Essence did that. Cool.
Yeah, that was spot on. Got it.
Cool. What else? I call you guys my troopers. Hanging into the end. Drew, can you check your chat real quick? I just want to be sure. What else we got? Awesome. Remember, I'm around all weekend. So you can, y'all don't hesitate. Nothing hurts me more. I'm serious. Nothing hurts me more than when you guys show up on test day, say, yeah, I never really understood that. Please, please don't show up on test day saying that. Call me, text me, email me. I may not get back to you immediately, but I will get back to you.
Hey, Julie, I have one question.
Yes.
I was taking a practice test in Unit 6 for land use controls.
Mm-hmm.
And the question asked, I screenshotted it, so I'm going to read it.
Is it learn, test, pass, or is it in the book?
It was learn, test, pass.
All right, hang on, let's find it. Again, I'm a visual person, so I need to see it.
It was question 9 of 20 for Unit
In
6.
which, this one?
Let me see. Yes.
All right, hang on. Let's go to the back end of learn, test, pass, because when I go to the back end, I can just skip to the question. So here's the Unit 6 land use control quiz. And you said it was number 9.
Correct.
All right, now we can all look at it together. So Aiden wants to build a 5-story office building on vacant lot that is zoned for commercial purposes, meets the zoning rules. The property has a deed restriction that does not permit building higher than 4 stories. Which of the following statements is correct?
Oh, yeah.
To build the 5 stories, 80 can remove. A permit. Aiden wants to build a 5-story office building on a vacant lot that is zoned for commercial. Property has a deed restriction, does not permit building higher than 4 stories. Which of the following statements is correct?
So he wants a variance, right?
The thing about a variance, and this is where we need to use a variance very carefully. With a variant, you're right. It's only one homeowner says your zoning rules don't allow me to use my building this way. But the thing about the variance is the homeowner has to be able to prove a unique hardship.
Okay.
They have to prove, like, I can't build anything because of your zoning rules. And that's why this isn't going to qualify. This is just this person's preference. This is just Aiden's preference, right?
So a variance is like,
He can still build a building. He just needs permission to do 5 stories instead of 4.
so the
And that's what-
variance was like, you're gonna build this street and it's only gonna leave 3 feet in front of my house and I can't get into my garage.
Right. So that, like, if you had a setback restriction of
A setback, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a setback and then they, build the road right through it and your house would sit, right behind your mailbox, right? Like you said, you don't have enough room to back out. Then you could, that's the key about a variance. You have
Okay.
one homeowner and they have to prove a hardship. It's
I
not just
see.
because I don't like it or I want to do something different. It's a hard, like, I can't do anything because of your zoning. So Kate, does that kind of, and
So
that's
what's the
why
answer to that
permit.
question?
Yeah,
It's
it
the
does.
permit.
Mhm.
He's going to
He's gonna
request
get
a permit.
Okay.
He'd have to get permission to build the 5-story building, but it wouldn't be a variance because that's just what he wants. It's not a hardship.
And we can't assume a hardship just because we don't know those details of, well, that extra floor is for X, Y, or Z.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. If you want to build a 5-story and it's only allowed for 4, you could request a permit. They may grant a permit, but you're not you can still build a building there, right? They're telling you don't build. They're not telling you no. I didn't say that right. They're not telling you not to build. Again, that's the key to a variance.
That was a good one. I didn't even know I had a question for that, but I would ask.
The deed restriction. I'm a little confused, like,
This might be misleading because maybe they would receive a permit, maybe they wouldn't, right? But that would
Right.
be their option. To request a permit to build
So,
a
the
5-story.
it's a
Doesn't
deed
mean
res-
they get it.
They're just requesting it.
I
They're
remember
not
messing
requesting a
up.
variance. They're just requesting a permit to build a 5-story.
I remember messing up this question, but yeah, so the deed, it's the determinable thing that's it's his problem that's conflicting with a deed restriction. It's not like a county ordinance or anything like that.
Right, the deed restriction be a restriction on this property, this deeded property.
And that's imposed by previous owner, the agreement from when they bought it.
Previous owners, it
probably?
could be a subdivision, an HOA community. Your covenants, for example, are deed restrictions.
So it's a similar idea to a
Some
variance.
kind of restriction on the deed, yeah. I don't know many properties that don't have some kind of deed restriction.
Like zoning and stuff like that.
Exactly. Covenants, HOAs.
Julie, I did put that, that weird, question in the chat. The 100% number 89 that has the weird bathrooms.
I didn't see it. So where is it?
It's learn, test, pass, the 100% test. Yep. Number
Remember the
89.
number? 89. So an appraiser's been asked to appraise 1750 square feet, 2.5 baths and a fireplace. A comparable property sold 3 months ago, 1650 and 3 baths and did not have a fireplace, assuming construction costs, half bath to be 15, full bath to be 25. What would the value of the subject property be? So you're saying they didn't
So just
use
click on it
1,500 for
and
the
make it,
half.
just click on it, make it give you an answer. I don't even remember what the answer was now. Oh, wait, there you go, right there. See how it's got, you're subtracting 3 baths and then adding for no half bath?
Oh.
Like that was weird from,
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna,
okay.
I think for
kept,
simplicity, yeah,
I
that's.
kept
I see
missing
what
it by
you're saying now.
$500.
I need to make a note to, I can fix that because I see what you're saying. Because again, if we were in appraiser school, this might be a different scenario, you
Right.
know? But
I kept missing
I'm
it by,
almost certain for our purposes, if it's off by half a bath. So what they're saying, because there is different value in a full bath and a half bath, right there. So what they're saying is you can't compare a 2.5 to a 3. I get what
Right.
they're saying, but I just think it's a lot more in depth than what you're gonna see.
well,
lot more
and given a
complicated than
value
what you're
for a
gonna see.
half bath, that's the value I would use because that's the difference. That's how it's superior or inferior. So
But I guess what they're saying, what the appraiser would do is to first compare a 2.5 to a 3. We're first going to deduct the 2 and then add the half. And that's,
yeah,
in my
and
opinion, and it's my opinion that is a lot more complicated than what you're gonna see.
Okay. It just, it took me forever to figure out why I was getting that one
Yeah.
wrong. So
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. So I didn't, learn, test, pass. We purchased this program, but I got the ability to edit. So when I see things like this that just cause confusion, I don't want to, I want you guys to get it, but I don't want to confuse you in the process. So I think something like that is just a lot more appraiser than broker. Their words now. What else we got?
Hey, Julie,
Hey,
on the test, on the Learn Test Pass exam, the number 19,
this 100%.
yes, an agent reviews the brochure, working with the real estate agents. Can you go over that, please?
So let's see, agent reviews, working with real estate agent with a prospective buyer. The buyer is reluctant to enter into a written buyer agency agreement with the firm. So the agent and the buyer agree that the firm will represent the buyer under an oral buyer agency agreement. No mention is made of dual agency. Buyer soon expresses a particular interest in seeing a property listed with the agent's firm. The firm had previously executed a written listing agreement with the property owner, but the agreement did not authorize the firm to act as dual agent when selling the owner's property. At this point, can the agent lawfully proceed to show the buyer the listed property in question without a written dual agency agreement from the buyer and seller? So this is one of these scenarios, like the seller has already said no in writing. Seller says, no, I'm not going to do dual in writing. The buyer has agreed to do dual orally, right? So I got the seller no in writing, the buyer yes orally. Can we proceed as is right now? No. So in this case, though, what we can do is contact the seller. The listing agent can contact the seller and they can say, we have a buyer that's represented by the firm. If you change your mind to dual agency, we can allow this showing. We can allow this buyer in. If the seller says, no, I'm not doing it, then we can't show the property. If the seller says, yeah, maybe we've been on the market for 6 months and the seller's singing a different tune than what they were 6 months ago, right? And the seller's going, you know what, I don't care. Because the buyer's agreement is oral, the seller can change their mind orally. As long as I have one person in oral, the seller can change their mind orally. Now I got to get that change in writing before we present the offer. So I'm just getting an oral agreement for dual agency to get the buyer in the front door, right? If they walk in and say, oh gosh, no, I don't want this house, then we go about our business. But if the buyer says, this is it, I want to write an offer, now we're going to put the buyer's agency agreement in writing and we're going to get the seller to change dual in writing.
Thank you, I got it.
So yeah, it depends
it,
on, like I
but
said, if
wasn't
both
sure.
are in writing, I can only get change in writing.
Okay.
But if the seller's in writing and the buyer's in oral, I could get the seller agree orally, reducing it to writing no later than presenting the offer.
And most of the times they're not going to let that go. They'll eventually change their mind most of the time.
You know, again, it depends. Like in this market, most homes aren't staying around long enough, but when we get back to normal, whatever that means, but everybody says, when we get back to normal, homes could be on the market for 4 or 5, 6 months. There's nothing wrong with the house. It's just a different market, you know? And the seller, if they have to sell, they may say, gosh, I can't wait. I just, whatever, bring a buyer in, you know? I still stand behind, if we are properly explaining dual agency and designated, most people are going to say yes. Because let's say you work for a firm that has 500 agents and your seller says no to dual. Your seller needs to understand that none of those 500 agents can bring their buyer client. I mean, that's a big pool of buyers that you're saying no to.
Yeah, it's just so big that you're going to have a lot of dual.
That's right.
As
That's
opposed
right.
to smaller. the
And
small-
even in small, I mean, all I need is one sign, right? One listing, and I could be in the potential for dual. But that
Right.
may not be as hard of a sale to the seller, right? As opposed to if I was with a firm that had 500. Oh, you're just a one-man show. How many buyers can you possibly represent? You know what I'm saying? So with a bigger firm, that may be a harder sell. Kate says you can show the property regardless, not necessarily. I got to get the seller to change their mind orally before I can show it. And if the seller says, no, I'm not doing dual, then I can't even show the property. And that's why we take this to the seller and give them the opportunity to change their mind. I know you said no, but we now have a buyer that wants to see your property. Would you consider changing your mind? If the seller says no, then sorry, buyer, I can't show you this property because the seller won't let you in. And then they both got to be in writing.
Hey, Julie, I had a question with the dual agency. I think this might have just been on Learn Test Pass, but it had said, so it was like the broker in charge had a buyer agent and the broker was the, the listing agent, and the questions was saying, which ones is true. One was like, neither one can be designated essentially if, one had confidential information about the other. But the answer was actually, of course, the provisional broker can't be, the designated agent against the broker in charge. Right. But in the question, it never said the broker was a provisional broker.
You know what? I know exactly what question you're talking about. And you're right. It doesn't say that they're a provisional broker. The only reason the answer talks about a PB and a BIC is because I believe the question, the scenario is like, in what situations could we not be designated? So the answer is just kind of taking it a step further. The answer is just going saying, if one of them PB and BIC, then they couldn't be designated. So it has nothing to do with the question and the answers itself. The explanation is just taking it a step further to remind us that a PB and a BIC can never be designated.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Now let me ask you guys something. Do your head one way or the other. Can a PB or a BIC be in dual?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. PB and a BIC, yes to dual. PB and a BIC, no to designated. That's probably honestly, you guys, that's probably the biggest problem topic in unit 7 or 8, where we talk about that. I think 7. So PB and a BIC can be in dual. They cannot be designated.
Yeah, I feel like parts of 7 are I have a few things that it's hard for me to wrap my head around. Some of it is no big deal, but some of it is like.
Just go back and revisit. That's the best thing I can tell you about agency. You got to expose yourself to it multiple times. I think we even said in unit 7, nobody's leaving the call as an agency expert, so to grasp agency, you got to revisit a couple times. You got to like attack it and, sneak attack and, just keep, I hate to say this, not to give you guys fuel or anything. There are agents out there practicing right now that don't understand agency. I guess they got lucky on the test. I don't know. But you got to think, what kind of disservice are they doing to their clients and customers if they don't understand the service that they owe, if they don't understand their relationship? I mean, any relationship you enter into, you have an understanding of how it works, right? And that's no difference with broker client.
Yeah. Imagining the provisional tethered to the BIC really helps me. That I'm a visual
great.
person as well.
Yep.
That really helps me with that. And with the doing a disservice, yeah, we took a bath when we first moved here by an agent who just didn't seem to know anything. And it came down to lawyers, and
Wow.
our lawyer was visiting a judge to ask if he could go through with it. And another lawyer was visiting a judge for a different question. It turns out that the other lawyer was the potential buyer for the property. So
Oh,
he
come
stepped
on.
away until it was settled, because he knew
That's
that
good.
you can't
Now he's
can't buy a
involved, right?
property that's in litigation. And then it turned out that we could have sued the agent because, you know, we didn't fulfill the criteria for being forced to buy it. But it turns out that she's the one who hired the attorney who wrote the contract in a way that hurt us. So
What a
it was,
mess.
it was a total, I
Yeah.
don't think she's practicing anymore, but basically the lawyers and the judges, their jaws dropped when they were like, what?
That's never a good sign when the judge goes, what? Yeah, that's nothing you never want to hear.
There's my doorbell.
We did, I had an educators conference a couple years ago, and gentleman stood up and he was talking. I don't remember now what he was talking about, but he was saying that he was teaching a CE course. He was doing the update course for the broker in charge. Have a good weekend. He was doing the BIC for the broker in charge, and they were reviewing dual and designated. And I think I told you guys, when you guys start doing CE, a lot of these topics that we talk about in pre-licensing, you're going to see appear in CE throughout your career. So that year in CE, they were reviewing dual and designated. And the instructor said, all right, broker in charges, how many of you firm's policy allows designated dual agency? Remember, designated, you got to have a firm policy. The firm has to do it. So several hands went up, and he randomly pointed to one broker in charge, and he said, how many agents are in your office? And she said, oh, it's just me. And the class made the face that all of you just made. How can a one-man show practice designated dual agency? And for a broker in charge to say in front of all her peers, that's what I felt bad about. Because, you know, the whole room went, you know,
Maybe she's
oh, it's just
schizophrenic.
me. So, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm certainly not trying to give you guys a, oh, don't worry about age, because it is so important. And that's the best thing that we can do to protect. Billy. Billy's my boss at the moment. Led under Jody.
I think I know who the true big is.
Are you
but
asking me on paper or who?
I think I know who the real ringleader is. But I just was curious.
Well, guys, if we don't have anything else, I got one-ish. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this gave you an opportunity not only to ask, but just to sit back and listen and you know, remember, I'm here. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Let me know if there's anything I can help clarify. And again, you guys, I beg you to put the book down between now and Tuesday morning. Please don't spend all your time in the book. You're not helping yourself. There is such a thing as overstudying. So like I said, at some point Monday night, you got to put it down. You got to know that you know what you know. Cramming all night is not going to help you. So put the book down, get a good night's sleep. We'll knock it out Tuesday morning. Thank you. You guys have a good weekend.
Thank you, too.
Thank you.
So off the record comment about passing the joint, you can't pass a joint to your kids.
Don't I need to stop recording for this? This sounds
Yeah, maybe.
serious. Oh,
That one helps me. That one helps.